The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
The Jets had another debacle this past week in Jacksonville, and now all questions are being asked about the defensive coordinator and certainly the head coach going forward. We'll talk with Joe Benigno about that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show, live on a Monday. Let's hit it and get it started.
Time to lose some games, bitches. You guys should be pros at this. They don't give out trophies for 4 or 5 wins.
A new chapter for the Jets has started. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are tasked with shaping the future of this franchise. Will they be the ones to finally get it right? We will be here for every step of the journey on the Jake Asman Show, breaking down all the storylines, every game, and everything in between. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chats, baby. Cut the line. The Jake Asman Show starts right now.
Here we go. We're live, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Before we bring on Joe B, a reminder that if you ever miss our live show, you could, of course, listen back to it wherever you get your podcast on either Spotify or Apple. Just search the Jake Asman Show, and everything you watch daily on YouTube, you'll be able to listen back to in audio form, again, on either Spotify or Apple. Let's say hello to our guy, the host of the Oh, the Pain podcast. And oh boy, has there been some pain in his sports life. It's our guy, Joe B, Joe Benigno, who joins us now. Joe, a debacle that we have seen far too many times again yesterday. How we feeling after that?
Look, I'd like to see a competitive game. You know what ticked me off the most about the game yesterday? Okay, and I already told you this, was the hosing on that punt return on the Isaiah Williams touchdown. I mean, come on. Seriously, that is as ticky-tack a freaking call as you could make. It's like this official had money on the Jags to make sure they covered the number. That was unbelievable. That they threw a flag there. And remember, they took like 5 minutes. The officials were talking about it because I'm telling you, the one guy was saying, you need to pick this flag up. And we got screwed. No, we would have lost anyway, and it would have made it 21-14. But this Isaiah Williams, how good is he? And by the way, how many big plays? He also caught like 3 or 4 passes in this game. He caught one pass that got tipped, and he somehow made the freaking catch before it hit the ground. There's one bright spot that we have is that kid. And I'll give you another bright spot, and that's A.D. Mitchell, who really looks good. Boy, I tell you, we'll see how that Sauce Gardner trade plays out with the draft choices. But that trade just looks like an absolute steal at this point in time. What can I tell you? The defense is a disaster, needs an absolute complete overhaul. Steve Wilks has got to go. They got to get a new defensive coordinator in there. I told you I'd love to see Bart Scott, but, we talked about it. He probably wouldn't take the job. Like you said, he'd probably have to take a pay cut, and he really has no relationship with Aaron Glenn. But God knows we need a new defensive coordinator, a complete overhaul on defense. The offense, what happened to Breece Hall? Did he get benched in the second half, bro? I don't even think some guy number 31 I never heard of was running the football. Who is that guy? Come on. So I don't even know what they're thinking about him now. And at this point now, if they wanted to let him go, let him go. I don't even care. It was a disaster. As far as Brady Cook's concerned, he showed you some moments of decency, but, the interceptions, and especially the one after they actually got a freaking turnover. Unbelievable. The interception he threw in the end zone to nobody. It was just, what was that? Unbelievable. Look, he's going to play. He's going to be the quarterback for the next 3 games, as he should be. And we'll see. Maybe he's got something. Maybe he's a solid backup. Maybe at the very least, he could start the season next year as a starter until the whoever they draft, if they draft a guy, is ready to take over. So we'll see. But they're not going to win another game. The Saints beat the Panthers again yesterday. They're showing signs of something under Kellen Moore. And, maybe they found their quarterback. So that's another place where we don't have to worry about them drafting a quarterback. So, but we'll get into it. But, what else can I say? It's just another disaster in another disgraceful season.
And Joe, to me, what is so concerning, and you nailed it, we all understand Steve Wilks is going to be fired. There's no chance he can
No.
survive this if Aaron Glenn is serious about being a head coach here. But you look at the last 2 weeks, right? They allowed 24 points in the first half against Miami. They completely no-showed that game. And at the bare minimum yesterday, you're thinking, all right, for a half, can they hang around? Can they show some fight? Are they going to still play for this coach? And they allowed 31 points in the first half yesterday. And I get it. The talent obviously is a major issue, but they're not talentless on that team. The linebackers are still here. They still have 2 first-round pass rushers. You never hear anything from Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald. I mean, God help us how bad Quincy Williams has been, and Jamie Sherwood, how bad he has been all year. They paid Stevens what a bad game yesterday. There are guys on this team that were supposed to be a lot better, and other than maybe Jawan Briggs or Harrison Phillips, who on this team has actually exceeded the expectations we had for them. It's not just a talent issue. They're horribly coached, and some of that has to be on the head coach as well as a defensive-minded guy.
Yeah, look, first of all, as far as the secondary is concerned, it's hard to be any good when the quarterback has 6 hours to throw the ball.
Yep.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence, who isn't look, he's having a good year. Maybe he's finally found himself under Liam Cohen. Maybe he has. They're on their way to the playoffs, probably going to win that division when all is said and done. But he did something that no other quarterback ever did before. He threw for 5 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown, and ran for over 50 yards. No quarterback in history had ever done that. The Jet pass rush was non-existent yesterday. It's hard to cover anybody when the quarterback has that time to throw. With that said, Aaron Glenn, man, look, we know he's going to be here next year. We understand that. But, boy, there is no reason right now to believe that this guy is the head coach we've been waiting for forever. I mean, there's no reason to believe that.
If you really look at their wins too, Joe, like they needed in some ways some fluky special team things to kind of go their way to win. Like the Falcons game, they needed a muff punt that they turned immediately into an easy rushing score at the 1 yard line.
And he had a big punt return in that game too, Williams. He had like an 80-yard return in that game.
I mean, they win the Browns game because they scored a kickoff return and a punt return touchdown. It's not like they did anything of note in that game.
I mean, the Browns stink too.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bears beat them 31-3 or whatever it was yesterday. So,
and look, you said it best. I'm with you. I don't think Aaron Glenn is going anywhere, but this is a guy who said his goal this year was for the Jets to play like a team fans would be proud of. And every single player on this team has either stayed the same or has regressed. I have not seen this coaching improvement that he said we were going to be able to notice this year when they retained a lot of the same guys that have been here.
Right. Well, the big mistake, the first big mistake and the biggest mistake made by Glenn was dumping Rodgers and then, okay, that's one thing, and then bringing in Justin Fields and thinking that he was going to be a decent quarterback and giving him 2 years and $30 million guaranteed. And I'm watching this guy yesterday, Fields. They showed him on the sideline. He's sunning himself in the sun there in Jacksonville, and he's got a big shit-eating grin on his face because he knows he stole $30 million from this franchise. And he doesn't have to worry about playing anymore this year. So who's happier than him? Well, what a disgrace. That was the biggest mistake that the Glenn Muji combo has made. And I put that on Glenn more than Muji, to be very honest.
Well, and part of the reason they signed Fields, according to Glenn, was that he was so tough to prepare against when he went up against him in Chicago. And that concerns me because, again, this Jet defense is horrible. And you can knock Robert Saleh and his staff for a lot of things. The one thing they had was a good defense, and guys got better. We like, who's gotten better on this team? That's my big concern. And there's some pieces to like on offense with the offensive line and some of these receivers, but man, like I understand he's not going anywhere, but any Jet fan who has concerns about the head coach, they're validated when you get those type of performances these last 2 weeks.
Non-competitive, first drive of the game, right down the field for a touchdown, just like it was in the Miami game. They didn't go for it on that 4th and 1, and I hated the play call, but if Membo makes a block there, if he touches that guy, Reese turns the corner clearly for the first down and maybe a lot more. And then, of course, that basically gifted them a touchdown. They did have that nice drive. Cook threw that touchdown pass to A.D. Mitchell, who really looks like we have something with him. He had a solid game yesterday. And then that punt return, it's 21-14 if that punt return stands. And I couldn't believe it, and that's the other thing, too. He's punting out of the end zone. We're going to get tremendous field position, even if he doesn't take it to the house. They wind up hosing us with that call, and then we wind up starting that drive on like our 30-yard line. I mean, just unbelievably horrible. And the officiating in this league is a joke. I mean, let's be honest about it. It is a freaking disgrace, the officiating in the National Football League. And how do we know, with all the gambling going on, that there aren't guys out there that are officiating games who aren't putting some money on them? We have no idea. Nothing. I don't care how they vet these. You could vet these guys above and beyond. That doesn't mean diddly to me.
It's well said. And, you look at like just where this team is at. And I understand in the big picture, we could say losing is better for where they want to be, but no one wants to see this. Like it's one thing to lose.
Non-competitive.
They're getting blown out. You're seeing Tennessee hang around with the Niners yesterday. We've seen the Browns of late be more competitive. I know they got killed yesterday, but look at their box score in all these games. Right. They've been hanging around.
How do we beat Atlanta, by the way? How do we beat them? I mean, Atlanta goes in and beats Tampa there. Did you see any of that game? The Atlanta Falcons had 19 penalties in that game, bro, and won. They were down 28-14 and came back and won that game with
missed the 2-point conversion twice and still won.
That's right. And still won the game.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Had a 3rd and 14 and 3rd and 14 and a 4th and 28 they had to convert on in that same drive. Just unbelievable. And look, like Wilks is easy to say get rid of him, but like now, like this franchise is going to be faced with like the decision to pick the right quarterback and maybe have to move up to get that guy. And it's just it's tough to really have a tremendous amount of confidence in like this coaching staff right now, even if they replace Wilks. Like again, the head coach is a defensive guy. I'm listening to him yesterday say it's not about the X's and O's. Yes, it is. I'm watching on the post game, and Bart Scott is absolutely correct saying that it's the same defense every week. It's predictable. Other teams know what's coming. And anytime they face like a bright offensive coach, they've been exposed all year. And again, we know there's a talent issue, but this is not just a talent issue why they've allowed the amount of points they've allowed this season. It's unacceptable.
And, even Bart brought up about how bad their blitzing is terrible. They got the worst blitz package in the game. It's really disheartening. But now, look, they're not going to win another game. They're not beating the Saints. The Saints look like they got life. I mentioned they may actually have a quarterback. They're playing for Kellen Moore. And then you're looking at New England and Buffalo. There is no way. And by the way, let me say it. Thank God, as much as I hate them too, thank God the Bills won yesterday. That they came back, they were down 24-7, and right now, I'm going to make my prediction right now. Kansas City's done. What a shame with Mahomes, man, tearing his ACL. What a disaster. By the way, how many guys? Mahomes, Micah Parsons, Devontae Adams, all went down yesterday. I think they're all done for the year. All of them with non-contact injuries yesterday.
Adams is the only one who I don't know how long he'll be out for. It might not be the season ending, but Mahomes done and Parsons done, and that's huge, obviously, with the Jets having their draft pick next year, if you want to think ahead that far, too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But to me now, it's all about the draft, bro. And here's my feeling. All right. To me, go get Mendoza. No doubt about it. That's the guy. No question. Find your way to get him. Now, right now the Giants have the number 1 pick in the draft. If it stays this way the way it is, okay, let's say the Jets wind up still 5, okay? They could lose out and still finish 5. Let's say that happens and the Giants wind up with the number 1 pick in the draft. And the Giants play the Raiders. So that's going to be
that's everything right there. That game is huge.
Big game, no doubt about it. So let's say the Giants finish with the first pick in the draft, okay? Here's what I need to know. All right, now Joel Shane, I'm sure, would go for a trade with the Jets. Would Mara trade with the Jets for the possibility that we could get our franchise quarterback? Even though the Giants would need it. I mean, the Giants need everything too. I mean, let's be honest. If we're approaching them with a package of a couple number 1s, a number 2, whatever it would be, to get Mendoza, would the Giants trade with us? Do you think Mara would trade with us?
So I think the answer is yes, because ultimately they're not in the same conference, same division. I get it. There's the same stadium, the rivalry in the same city, all that. But if it's the best offer, they'd be cutting off their nose to spite their face, because again, maybe you help the Jets get a franchise quarterback, or it's the Jets. They take Mendoza, ruin him like we've ruined every other quarterback we draft. Yeah, right. And they have all these picks to now build their roster around. I think Shane would do it, but I don't know if he's going to survive these next couple of weeks here. But you're right. You mentioned the Raiders. That's the team that scares me the most because The Jets could say, hey, Vegas, we want to trade for Fernando Mendoza. We want the number 1
No,
pick.
they're taking Mendoza. The Raiders are taking Mendoza. There's no doubt. Forget about it. They will not trade that pick.
Right.
If they're number 1, they're going to take the quarterback. God knows they need a quarterback. There's no doubt about it. And if that happens, okay, if we can't get Mendoza, all right, I'm not taking Ty Simpson or, Dante Moore, whoever it is, just for the sake of taking him, okay? What I would do, I would pivot. I would use the 2 picks we have. Let's say which stays at 5 and 18 for the Colts, because that's where they are now, even though they were in a free fall. How about that yesterday with Phillip Rivers? Unbelievable. Whatever, okay? They lose on a last-second field goal, then Rivers threw a pick on the last drive. Let's say it stays 5-18. I would pivot and take the 2 best defensive players I can get. That's what I would do. And then what I would do, I would, in the second round, if Diego Pavia is sitting there with one of those second-round picks, I would take him. If a guy like Pavia is sitting there, or even a guy like Lenoris Sellers, I would take them with a second pick, all right? And
Sellers going back to school, just so you know.
Who's that?
Sellers going back to school officially over the weekend. He announced
Okay,
that.
good. Well, he probably needs another year because he had a bad year last year. Okay.
Look, I don't know if it's Pavia, Joe, but a quarterback on day 2, like what the Saints did with Tyler Shuck, for example, fine. If you can't force feed and get, Mendoza or more, I understand that. But I think they're going to be able to get at least one of them. It might not be Mendoza, but I think Dante Moore is going to declare, and he could be an option for the Jets.
I don't know. I don't know how much they like him. I don't want to take a quarterback just for the sake of taking him, bro.
I gotta like the guy. Correct.
I would rather take Pavia, and I think he's better. I think Pavia is better. It's all a matter of the size. I would rather do that and take the 2 best defensive players I can get. I don't care what position they play. Doesn't matter because we need every freaking position. The 2 best defensive players I could get. That's if everything stays like it is now. All right, and you can't get Mendoza, and then I would take Pavia with one of the second-round picks. That's what I would do.
Well, Joe, this happened a lot last year. We were live together when the Jets fired Robert Saleh. We were live when they made the Devontae Adams trade, and now we got some more breaking Jets news.
Breaking sports news on the Jake Asman Show.
Steve Wilks has been fired. Aaron Glenn firing the Jets defensive coordinator this morning, and it is being reported that the new DC for the remainder of the season is Chris Harris, who's one of the assistant coaches on the staff. So Aaron Glenn announcing that Steve Wilks has been fired, which, again, I knew this was coming after the year. Would have needed 3 more weeks.
Why wait? You know what, bro? Why even wait? Why wait? He's not going to be here. Why?
What if they win a game now? That's my fear.
Well, I don't know if they win. I mean, look, the only game you're going to think they're going to win is New Orleans. They're not beating the Patriots.
Correct.
That's their last home game. There'll be 50,000 Patriot fans there. They're sure as hell not beating Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's going to need that game maybe to win the division. I don't know I don't know what the Patriots schedule is the rest of the way. I'm not sure who the Patriots play the last 3 games. They play Miami, I guess, the last game of the year, right? I think New England has to play Miami because the Jets play Buffalo.
That's correct. Yep.
They're playing. Where is that game? Do we know where that is?
I can look it up for you.
Probably in Foxborough. Because why wouldn't they play when it's the cold weather, play that there?
That game is in Foxborough, correct.
Of course. All right, so they play us. Who's their next game? Who's New England's next game?
New England plays the Ravens, then they play us, and then they play the Dolphins.
Okay, so that game's in Baltimore. So there's a possibility that they could lose that game because God knows the Ravens need that game. Right now, you got the Ravens. Look, if Pittsburgh loses to the Dolphins tonight, they'd be tied for first. As it is, though, they play Pittsburgh again. So the Ravens need that game this week. There's no doubt about it because they're still in the mix. At worst, they're still only going to be a game out of first with another game to play Pittsburgh. So they're going to need that game. The game's in Baltimore. So let's say the Patriots lose to the Ravens. They're beating the Jets. They're more than likely beating Miami, which means that Buffalo, is probably going to need that last game for the division championship, because they're making the playoffs. We know that. So the Jets, if they're winning the game, it's the Saints. That's the only game they got a shot is this week coming up. But I'm very happy he dumped Wilks now. Why even wait, bro? Why even masquerade that with him? And let's draft a real defensive coordinator. I mean, I don't know what this Harris guy is. Who knows? But, maybe he could be the guy. I don't know the answer to that. But let's get a real defensive coordinator going into next year. But good move. I'm happy they got rid of Wilks.
Well, it's interesting because after the game, you had Quincy Williams refuse to speak with reporters saying, I have nothing positive to say. And then Jermaine Johnson, who's considered one of the leaders on the team, certainly one of the leaders of the defense, he refused to speak either. It almost felt like it was getting so untenable in that locker room because for a while now, just reading some of the comments that players have made, there was a lot of like subtle shots at Wilks that I've been able to kind of take away from some of the players' remarks the last few weeks. And you could see they clearly like quit these last couple of weeks. The tackling effort's been bad. Guys have no idea where they're going. And Quincy Williams said something apparently to the broadcasters in the production meeting that the defense this year is more complicated than the solid scheme. And when you hear things like that, you're thinking, how could you have a more complicated defense when your personnel is way worse? That's just bad coaching. So like, I think Glenn felt like he probably was going to lose the locker room if he didn't make this move now. So that's the only thing I can think of why you do this now and not just do it after 3 more games.
Well, and how about the fact that we've gone now, 14 games without an interception, bro?
Yep.
How is that possible? 14 games and not one interception. I mean, they're going to look, I'm telling you, man, could you imagine the money you would make if you would have bet before the year? What kind of number would you have gotten that they could go an entire year without an interception? And right now, they probably are, to be honest. This has got to be their best shot at an interception this week because they're playing a rookie quarterback, right? I mean, you would think. I mean, if they're going to get one, it probably won't be against Drake May or Josh Allen. I'll say that.
I mean, when they faced Tua, he led the league in interceptions at the time they faced him. They dropped a bunch of them. Most weeks they don't even come close.
A touchdown. That guy Walker, I don't even think he played yesterday. He had one right in his hands he was in the end zone basically with the ball. It was a joke.
It's unreal. So Chris Harris, for those curious, who's now the new DC for these final 3 games, he's the passing game coordinator. Glenn saying that he will be the defensive play caller. I'd like to see Glenn call the defense, but that would put the target on him. All of a sudden, he wouldn't be able to fall, hide behind Steve Wilks being bad at his job, who he hired. Oh, by the way,
Glenn should be calling the defense. I agree with you, 100%.
But here's the question I have for anyone who wants to defend Aaron Glenn, right? Like, what can we point to as a head coach that he does well? What's his calling card? What's his specialty?
They were playing hard for him. For a while, we would say, well, they're playing for him. They ain't playing. I mean, the defense certainly isn't playing for him the last 2 weeks. That's for sure.
I can't come up with one thing that we could say, like, has improved or they're doing better. Maybe they cut down on the penalty problem a little bit.
Teams. The only thing you could say,
that's it.
That's on Chris Banjo. The special teams are terrific. I mean, let's be honest.
He hired a great special teams coordinator. That's about the only good thing I could say about Glenn in year 1.
Yep. The punter's great. The kicker's great. The return game is great. The coverage has been very good. I mean, that's the only thing that you can say about the special teams.
By the way, I don't know if you saw this, if you were watching last night, but of course, Quinnen Williams comes up with an interception for the Cowboys last night.
They did lose, though. So
they did, but you can't make it up. The Jets don't have a pick all year, and Quinnen, a defensive tackle, is getting a pick last night. It's
believe me. You know what's funny? I wasn't watching the game, and I had a bunch of people text me about that. I was watching Life, Liberty, and Levin. I was not watching.
You were footballing out after
forget about it. I don't need to see any more football.
Unreal.
I basically watched the red zone for the late games, which turned out to be some of the late games were just tremendous. I mean, yesterday there was some really good games. The Lion-Ram game was really good. The Bronco-Packer game, Seattle and the Colts was good. Went right down. The Saints and the Panthers. I mean, it was a lot of good games in the late window yesterday. It really was.
Well, if you're watching our show live right now, make sure you hit the like button and you hit the subscribe button. Joe B joining us in his weekly spot. Jets have just fired Steve Wilks. We're reacting to that. If you have a comment or a question for Joe and I to respond to, super chat it in. We'll make sure it gets on the show. And I do want to announce this. We have a great giveaway today on this show and the second show, giving you 2 shows, an opportunity to enter for your chance to win. It's a signed helmet by Jets legend, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Joe Klecko. So make sure you enter for your chance to win that. Joe, this would look good next to the Mark Gastineau helmet you have in the man cave now. You know what? I have I do have a autographed jersey by Klecko, which is hanging on the wall right now. Nice.
So nice. I do have, and by the way, I want to thank you. You're unbelievable. He sends me this Jet golf shirt. That's a nice shirt, but what's wrong with you, bro?
Look,
I appreciate it. You know,
Hey, you're the best, Joe. We appreciate you coming on every single week. Crossstrike's got a super chat. He says, we need the draft Mendoza. Cannot wait till 27 to get a quarterback. Jake and Joe, if we're the third pick and Vegas is one, do you think we could trade with them?
No.
It's going to be hard. If they like Mendoza too, they're going to take him.
No, Vegas is taking Mendoza. Come on.
Maybe they like more. Like, it's still very early in the process here.
I guess there's a possibility they might like Moore or even Simpson better. I mean, is there any possibility Arch Manning comes out? Is there? I don't think so.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, I think Arch Manning is going to stay for a number of reasons. I think he wants to win the Heisman Trophy. Nobody else in the family won that. Texas should be in the playoff, even though they're not. It's a joke. They're actually playing Michigan. I forget what bowl it is with all the nonsense that happened with Michigan with the head coach and all of that insanity. But
Wink
anyway.
Martindale could be available to be a DC for the Jets.
I would take Wink Martindale in a nanosecond to be the defensive coordinator. In a nanosecond, bro. That's right. He was at Michigan. I would take him like now to be the DC.
Jets firing Steve Wilks. For those tuning in, who do you want to see be the next DC?
That's the guy. You hit the guy right there, Wink Martindale.
I'd take Jim Schwartz, too, if the Browns fire their whole coaching staff. I'd take him. Jim Leonard, they want to give him an opportunity to be the DC. He's the assistant head coach under Sean Payton right now. He's their pass game coordinator on defense there. I mean, he's under Vance Joseph, who's been great with that Denver defense. So, yeah, I mean, another name to watch. I don't know if I'd love this. Raheem Morris, if he gets fired by the Falcons, him and Glenn are close when Raheem was like an assistant on like the Jets coaching staff years ago.
I'm not
Glenn was a player.
To me, you hit the guy, Martindale. Give me Wink Martindale. That's the guy. That'd be my number one guy. Give me him. Let's go.
Bino with a super chat. Here's the first crack after AG's comments yesterday. This is a Woody firing 100%. Well, I mean, Glenn did say yesterday when asked about Wilks that there's 3 games left and Wilks gets an opportunity, to run his defense. We brought him in for a reason. He tried to defend Wilks yesterday. So it does lead you to believe, okay, was this 100% Aaron Glenn when yesterday in the postgame he tried to defend Wilks publicly. Now, less than 24 hours later, he is firing the guy.
Yeah. Maybe it is Woody. Good. Well, if it is, good job by Woody. Get him the hell out of there.
I'll pull the cut for you and we could listen in on it. Let me pull this up here. This was literally yesterday after the game. I didn't see the post game show. I took a shower. I needed to cleanse myself after the week I've had between the Mets and the Jets. Don't worry, we'll get to the big Polanco signing, Joe. People want to hear your thoughts on that.
No.
This was Glenn yesterday being asked about Steve Wilks.
Will you consider taking over the play calling on defense?
I know the question was going to be asked, but listen, I brought Wilks in for a reason, and listen, I want him to run his system. We have 3 games left. All right, 3 games left for our guys to go out there and play. And I will tell you this: it's right now. It's not about the X's and O's, across the board. It's about the character of the men on this team, and that's what I'm evaluating. And I'll tell you what, I thought some of our guys really gave it up, on that field today. We really pushed it and really continue playing no matter what the situation was. And I'm proud of those guys for that. And I want to make sure I look at the tape and see, did everybody do that? And then also evaluating the coaches also, just like I always do. Starting myself, coaches, and the players on evaluations.
Well, I mean, I don't know how anyone could hear that from the head coach and feel confident like that. It's not about the X's and O's. Forget the Wilks defense. Again, it is all about the X's and O's. They've been out-coached every week. Guys are never in the right spot. Yeah. They're never in position to come up with a takeaway because they have no idea what they're doing.
There's not a lot of players on this defense. I mean,
it's both.
There is not one guy in this defense that you wouldn't want to get rid of. Like I said, maybe I keep A.Z. Thomas. I know he's out for the year now, and Malachi Moore. Outside of that, you could get rid of everybody on this defense. Everybody.
I mean, they had 0 pass rush, yet they invested 2 first-round picks and 2 pass rushers. It's terrible. Edge is a huge need this offseason.
Of course.
But it's just, again, I understand there's a lack of talent, but defensively, they had 8 of their 11 starters back at the beginning of the year. This defense has been bad all year, even when they had Sauce and Quinton Williams. They were never anywhere close to where they should have been. And again, a well-coached team doesn't allow 31 points in the first half yesterday to the Jaguars. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, it was unbelievable. It was above and beyond, bro. There's nothing else you could say. Nothing else you could say about it.
Some super chats here.
Thank God Wilks is gone.
Yeah. Jets fired Steve Wilks. We're reacting live here on the show. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. King Lowski says, about damn time. Now get the rest of the trash the hell out of here. Do you think, Joe, if they get killed like they just did yesterday over these final three, would Woody rethink anything with Glenn, or do you think no matter what, he's safe?
I think Glenn is going to get to be here for the draft. They're not going to get rid of Moochie. I'm not.
No.
I wouldn't. Well, and I would not get rid of him. I mean, he's done some good things here.
Can you separate Moochie from Glenn, though, or is it looked at like they're a package deal?
Well, I don't see how you, with the trades that he made to set up the draft and bringing in a guy like Mitchell, even Mechie, who has gotten hasn't been as good. He was okay yesterday. Even a move for a guy like Mechie and some of the moves he's made, I don't see how you let Moochie go. I got confidence in him. I don't have confidence in Glenn. I have confidence in Moochie. I do.
Some super chats here. This one is from Amy, who says, pick and round, should we draft a safety? Thanks, Jake. Look, it could be pretty early if they like someone with one of their second-round picks, or maybe there's a scenario where they move up for someone with those extra twos. Like, safety is a huge need on this team. I definitely could see them addressing it earlier than most think.
Well, like I said, they need to draft if you don't get Mendoza in the first round, I think you got to draft in the first round the two best defensive players available. I don't care what position they play, because they need it at every level of the defense. So, that's what I would do. Right now. And then, like I told you, what I would do, I take a quarterback in the second round and take a shot at him, knowing I can still draft a quarterback next year. That's how I would go. And then you'd have to bring a veteran here. I don't know who that veteran guy would be. There's not a lot of guys available out there, but that's how because I think Mendoza is the guy you got to go get. I really do. And I think if the Raiders get the first pick, you're not getting them. They are not going to trade that pick. They're going to take Mendoza.
One thing with the Raiders too, Joe, and you hate why this is the case, but with Mahomes getting hurt, all of a sudden the Raiders, who do have a game left against the Chiefs, maybe Kansas City sits all their players. They're playing Gardner Minshew. Maybe the Raiders could steal that one without Mahomes playing.
Maybe. You're right.
They're awful. I mean, they really feel like by far the worst team in the league right now with how they're playing.
I would agree. Worst team in the league right now. Got just waxed yesterday by the Eagles. Killed.
Jordy says Bears defensive pass game coordinator Al Harris should be the DC. He's going to be a trendy name too, because that Bears defense, they lead the NFL in takeaways.
Mm-hmm. Al Harris, is that the old defensive back from
former player? Yeah,
from the Packers.
Yep.
I like Martindale. I think he's a proven commodity. Let's put it this way: whoever they hire for the D coordinator better get it right. I'll leave it at that. Whoever it is.
Paul Faz says, I want Bart Scott. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think
I'm big on Bart. I love Bart.
I'd love it too. I think he would
Bart
only coach.
Bart knows defense, bro. He knows his stuff. I would hire him in a second. Again, I don't know if he'd take it. Like you said, I don't think he has any relationship with Glenn. And he's critical of the team on the show. So but I think he'd be a great D coordinator, no doubt.
C says Glenn's body language was screaming that he was done with Wilks. I mean, look, there were some quit these last two games, and I think that's why Glenn felt like he had to step in and do this now with 3 games to go.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think it came from on high. I think Woody told him, look, you got to get this guy out of here. You got to do something right now. It's just
again, I think there could have been a revolt in the locker room. Like we're seeing.
Maybe. You might be right.
I can't. And again, excuse me. Why didn't they trade Quincy Williams if he's just not going to be here next year at the deadline? Like again, they're just losing for nothing. There's no chance he's on the team next year. They're not going to bring him back. He's already been back once.
I'm telling you right now, I would have traded Garrett Wilson too. I honestly, I mean, he's not. It looks like he's not playing the rest of the year. I mean,
he shouldn't. They save him. There's no point in bringing him back.
There's no reason to play him now.
They need him though, man.
I would have, bro. We
need weapons.
We got another number 1 draft choice for him.
Yeah, but we need a number 1 receiver. We need him and Mitchell. I want as many weapons as possible so we don't have the Sam Darnold mistake all over again.
Maybe we could have drafted, what's his name? Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State. Too.
Yeah, but then you got to wait till 27 for that.
Why?
I need someone now because he's not going to come out this year.
He's not coming out.
He's got another year of eligibility, I thought.
So what?
The guy from Ohio State would be Cornell Tate, but I don't know if the Jets are going to be able to get him.
I don't know if I would do that with him. I don't know about him. I would draft Smith. I'll tell you, bro. I got to tell you this. I'm going to tell you. You want offensive weapons? I'd take a shot at the kid from Notre Dame.
Jeremiah Love.
He looks like the real deal as a running back. And one thing we know, and I don't know what's happened to Brees. I mean, I don't know if he got benched yesterday in the second
I think
half.
they were protecting him yesterday because he had the knee injury all week. He was on the injury report. So I think when the game got out of hand, they limited his reps.
31 running the ball. I never even heard of the guy.
Was that Khalil Herbert? Was that who 31 is?
Oh, my God. This guy's on his team I never heard of. I mean, who are these people? And they had some guy wearing number 99. How do you give up? You cannot let anybody wear 99, okay, please? And they had some guy, and he wound up getting thrown out of the game, right? Didn't he get thrown out of the game, this guy? Whoever he was, 99? I don't know his freaking
name. He made contact with an official. That was
the
guy who got tossed.
By the way,
I thought it was a player. Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. Matt says, just logged on. Did I hear correctly? Wilks is gone. That is correct. Yes. Steve Wilks fired by Aaron Glenn this morning. Chris Harris, the passing game coordinator on defense, will be the DC the final 3 weeks. Big fellow with a super chat. We need a QB on offense and defense. Sherwood should not be playing middle linebacker. Too small and players always out of position. Beyond just Sherwood, where's the leadership on defense? Who are the leaders on that team? They're never prepared. They don't play hard. Like they play hard for Glenn. Not the last 2 games we haven't seen that. So the entire defense needs to be totally revamped. There's maybe 1 or 2 guys that you could picture actually starting a year from now on that team. Like maybe McDonald and Jermaine if they don't trade him. Maybe AZ Thomas because he's under contract. Steven's under contract. Like they're going to probably have 5, 6, 7 starters.
The young guys, Thomas and Moore, I would keep. They're rookies. I wouldn't dump them. Outside of that, anybody on this defense can go.
Yep. Let's see. Marker says Raheem Morris if he's fired. That's a name to watch. I don't love it, but he's a name to watch.
No, I like Wink Martindale better. And I actually like Al Harris better because I don't know what he is, and I'll take a shot at him.
Him, Jim Leonard, I'm all for it. Bino, this firing is classic Woody losing patience. It wouldn't surprise me.
No. Woody should have never signed off on dumping Rod. Let's be honest about this, okay? Let's go back to the beginning, okay? The biggest mistake made this year, okay, was letting Rodgers go and bringing Justin Fields in. It really set the tone for the disastrous 0-7 start. Let's be honest about it. That is the biggest mistake. If they would have kept Rodgers, okay, and I'm not saying they would have made the playoffs. They would have been better. They would not be sitting here at 3 on their way to a 3-14 season.
But then all the blame is on Rodgers, who wouldn't have been able to overcome this mess. The defense still would have sucked, and then all the blame would be on him and not the fact that we might have hired again the wrong head coach.
Right. That's right.
Doug says, sad to say, but a good Jet season is when the AFC East team doesn't make a Super Bowl. Let's go Broncos or Texans. I think those are the 2 AFC teams who have the best shot. I'm rooting for anyone besides Buffalo and New England. That's where I'm at.
Right now, my money is on the Bills. I think the Bills and the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. I think Buffalo, the win yesterday, with them coming back, they were down 24-7. They were getting pasted by the Patriots in the first half. And for them to come back and do what they did in the second half tells me they're the team to beat in the AFC. You could talk about Denver all you want. I know they got the home field right now. You could talk about the Patriots. You could talk about Houston. You could talk about Jacksonville. You could give me any of those teams, the Chargers, if you want to throw them in the mix. The best team in the AFC is the Bills. This is their time. They got the best player in the conference in Allen. He's the best player in the league as far as I'm concerned. And right now, with the demise of Patrick and the Chiefs, right now, Josh Allen's the best player in football. And to me, that's the team to beat. Even if they don't win the division and they got to go on the road, watch out for Buffalo.
I just don't know their defense is good enough. They got a lot of problems there.
Okay. I'm telling you, they're going to get to. My money is on the Bills to get.
I hope you're wrong. I can see it.
Yeah. I don't think they're better than the Rams are, but I think that's the team in the AFC. I really do. If they don't get there this year, when are the Bills getting there? I know Allen's the guy. See, if the Buffalo does not get to the Super Bowl this year, they're going to fire the coach. McDermott's gone. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
We've said that for years. They never do it.
Yeah, but the path is clear now. There's no Chiefs. Their number one tormentor is out. I don't think the Ravens are that good. I think the Ravens are, I don't think they're even going to get into the playoffs. Yep. And Lamar Jackson's not the same player. Okay. I mean, Who's going to, you're going to tell me the Patriots are beating them? If they play them in the AFC Championship game in Foxborough? I don't know, bro. I'm not, or even if they got to go to Denver.
Maybe Denver because of that defense and their coach. Maybe Denver. Yeah.
But they don't have a great offense in Denver. I mean, Bo Nix is a decent quarterback.
Houston could give them a problem too. They never beat the Texans.
I know they got a real good defense, Houston. Maybe. But right now, Houston's still got to win the division too. I mean,
Correct.
Right now, Houston's a wild card right now.
No, this is the most wide open the AFC has been in some time because the Chiefs are now done. The Ravens aren't the Ravens. Yep.
You heard it from Benigno. Buffalo, Rams. That's the Super Bowl.
Let's see. A couple super chats left for you, Joe. This one's from David, who says, card total, terrible day, but listening to Joe sound off on this pathetic franchise instantly brought a smile to my face. JETS, I guess.
Sorry about that. I hope you had a good insurance. Sorry about your total in your car. I feel bad for you with that. That's painful. As long as nobody was hurt, I guess that's the important thing.
Hope you're okay, David. Appreciate you still checking in. Big fella says, Joe, you need to put Jawan Briggs on your keeper list. I like him too. He's been a nice find.
All right. You want to keep him? You want to keep Phillips? All right. You want to keep those guys?
We're looking at 5 or 6 at the minimum new starters on defense next year.
Minimum. And I told you, to me, if you don't get Mendoza, I'm not sold on these other guys. I'm not sold on Simpson and Moore.
I like Dante Moore. I do like him. Simpson, I liked until he imploded the last month.
Good throws. The problem is we're not going to see him. The next game he plays is against James Madison next Saturday, which is a disgrace. The fact that they are in the playoff, the fact that James Madison and Tulane were put into this playoff is an absolute disgrace. Teams like that, it's okay in the NCAA, in the basketball. You got 68 teams. You could put those kind of teams in the NCAA tournament. They can't be in the football playoff. I'm sorry. Notre Dame, Texas, Vanderbilt, 2 of those 3 teams should be in the playoff.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Joe B with us. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, send in a super chat if you want a raffle ticket or a signed Collecto helmet.
Nobody raffles off better Jet stuff than you do.
I appreciate it, Joe.
100%.
Well, it's because people still care about this team. The people support the channel, so you pay it forward, right? But it's amazing, just again how bad this team has been for as long as they've been, and people still care.
By the way, I wore the Don Maynard jersey yesterday. Didn't help.
Nope.
I will wear. I think I'm going to wear. I think the rest of the year I've got it planned out. John Riggins on Sunday.
Okay.
For the Patriot game, I'll wear Curtis Martin for obvious reasons, and then I'll finish it out with Name It. I started with Name It, then I'll finish it with Name It.
Another year. At least those never go out of style, those jerseys.
No. You got, if you're going to buy a Jet jersey right now, you need to buy a jersey of, those kind of guys. Those are the guys. Name It, Maynard, Riggins is a little out there, but still, he was a Jet for 5 years. We drafted him. Curtis Martin, Gastineau, Wesley Walker, Al Toon. I got all those.
Yeah.
I got all those guys. Those are the guys. There's nobody on the team right now. Maybe Breece Hall. Maybe. I do have a Breece Hall jersey. There's nobody on the team right now that I would go out and pay money for their jersey. Nobody.
Not even Garrett? Garrett's signed at least. He's a playmaker.
And I have him too. I do have him too. I don't know. I'm a little down on him. I mean, I know he's been hurt and all, but I would have traded him too, bro. I'm telling you.
They need web. I like AD Mitchell. Okay. He's not a number one. Like Garrett Wilson's proven to be quarterback proof. Like he had 3 straight 1,000-yard receivers with terrible quarterback play for most of it.
He did. Well, he's still here. So yeah, go get your Garrett. I have his jersey too. Go get your Garrett Wilson jersey. You're right.
Peter says Wink is the pick. We agree there. We like Wink Martindale.
Right.
Carlos says if all current 2-win NFL teams finish with 3 wins, how is the draft order decided among the Titans, Raiders, Giants, Jets, Browns, and Cardinals when they're all tied at 3 and 14? It's based on strength of schedule. So ignore any head-to-head. It doesn't matter. No. It's all about the total strength of schedule. The lowest strength of schedule will have the higher pick.
The weaker schedule gets the higher pick. That's how it works.
Correct. Harry says, I want Jim Schwartz from Cleveland for our next DC. Look, if the Browns blow up their coaching staff, Schwartz will be one of the most popular names for a DC, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This one is from PBM. Mike writes, and Joe B, do you still think that Falcons win was good? Same old Jets.
Look, I mean, I told you I would never root against my team. I wanted to win games. And at least at that point, we thought the team was playing for the coach. Right. I mean, at that point, I understand Tyrod got hurt, but it's not even about the offense. I mean, look, Cook wasn't good yesterday. He's still a young kid. I mean, he's showing you some signs. I'll give this about Cook. There are some signs. He made some good throws yesterday. He made some terrible throws, obviously, but he made some good throws. He's got a good arm. He's got a little mobility to run a little bit. Let me see. He's going to play. The one plus is you're going to see this kid play the next 3 weeks, and you get a better feel if you got anything with him, going forward next year. Now, you still got to get a real quarterback here, right? Of course. But that's the one thing about, at least with Brady Cook. At least you're getting to evaluate this kid over the last few games of the season.
And at least, like, he played well enough where you don't need to now force Fields to go back out there.
Oh, no,
Fields Tyrod.
Fields is never playing again for the Jets. You know that.
No, but like if Cook was like so bad and then we're stuck with Fields, the last thing they need is Fields having like this outlier great game, which we've seen at times. He at least has shown in his career he could do. He showed it with the Jets against Cincinnati. Like that's the last thing they need. Just get through these last 3 games, pick as high as possible, and hope the Raiders win a damn game so the Jets don't need to worry about them taking the quarterback they like.
Right.
That's where I'm at. It's just miserable.
It, man. Look, if the Giants get the first pick, if the Saints, I don't think the Saints are getting the first pick now.
Tennessee, there you can make a deal with them.
Yeah. I don't know about Cleveland, man. I think Cleveland's going to take a quarterback too.
They could too. You got to get in front of Cleveland as well.
Yeah.
And right now, Cleveland is in front of the Jets, and Shedeur was terrible yesterday, so they definitely could be in consideration for.
They
a
also
QB.
played a real good team yesterday. They played the Bears, who, right now the Bears, man, 10-4 lead their division. It's unbelievable.
Here's the Browns' schedule. They play the Bills this week, then the Steelers, then they play the Bengals the last week of the year. Maybe they could possibly win that one the way Cincinnati's playing, especially Burrow.
Cleveland right now looks like they're not winning another game.
Nope, they are not. That loss that they had to Tennessee, they should have won that game. That really hurts.
The one thing I'll say about the Browns, they're so poorly run, they're so bad that they might actually take a trade with the Jets for the number 1 pick. You never know. They might.
Yeah,
Cleveland might.
Again, the key is to have as many of these quarterbacks declare come out, so there's just more options than just Mendoza.
You're telling me Sellers is not coming out?
He's going back to school.
So we're looking at Mendoza, Simpson, Moore, and Pavia, right? Basically, right?
Nussmeier,
yeah.
if you want to throw him in there.
Carson Beck from Miami.
Jaden Mayava, the USC quarterback, potentially could come out. He's a guy people like. It's not a great, consensus where it's like, yep, definitely this guy is going to be coming out and he's going to be a first-round guy.
The game that I'm really zoning in on next week in the college playoffs is that game, Miami, Texas A&M. That game is at noon on Saturday. I will be locked into that game. Really interested to see Beck go up against, a big-time SEC defense on the road. Very interesting.
Final one for me, Joe. I told you I was.
By the way, let me just say this. I know Beck played at Georgia too, so it's not. This won't be his first time out against a big, in the SEC. He did play at Georgia for 4 years or whatever.
State of the Mets signing over the weekend. Jorge Polanco. Your thoughts on that move and where things currently stand with, to quote you, the boy genius David Stern's offseason.
You know what, bro? I've been a Met fan since day one. I was 9 years old. I made the critically stupid decision to be a fan of this Met team. In 63 years, they've won 2 championships, right? They've actually been to the playoffs less than the Jets. They've never gone to the playoffs more than 2 years in a row, just like the Jets. The Jets have been to the playoffs 14 times. The Mets have been there 10 times. I feel violated. That's how I feel. And it's not the first time that I felt violated as a Met fan. I felt violated by the combination of M. Donald Grant and Joe McDonnell when they traded Tom Seaver. I felt violated by the Wilpon Doubleday combination and Frank Cashin when he basically dismantled the 1986 championship team, topped off by letting Darryl Strawberry walk to the Dodgers in 1990. And I feel violated now by the combination of the genius Stearns and Uncle Stevie, who has turned out to be an absolute fraud. That he is dismantling this baseball team. It's a goddamn disgrace. And it's all about money, bro. This is this owner who all we've heard has all this money. Thank God the Wilpons are gone. All this money, and he right now is running the Mets like they're the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's exactly what he was doing. It's all about saving money. He saved money with the Nimmo trade. He saved money by not having to pay Pete. He saved money by not bringing back Diaz. And God forbid, and I'm hearing rumors that he's looking to move Lindor. Boy, if he does that, you know it's all about money. And don't be surprised, Met fans, because I know a lot of you guys out there are Met fans. Don't be surprised if they do nothing with the rotation. And the starting rotation next year turns out to be McClain, Tong, Sproat, Clay Holmes, and either Manaea or Peterson. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. What a and the outfield, forget about Tucker, forget about Bellinger, and the outfield turns into be Soto in right, and how happy could he be right now? Soto in right, the kid Benj in center, and Jet Williams in left. I would not be shocked at all. And it's unbelievable. I am so disgusted. Like I said, I felt violated in 1977. I felt violated in the late 80s, and I feel violated now. And I am sick and tired of watching Met management, excuse my expression, I guess I can use this, fuck Met fans for the better part of 5 decades. And I'm going to say one more thing here too, okay? All right? We all knew, at least with the Wilpons, we knew what the Wilpons were. We knew they were cheap. They obviously got burned in the Bernie Madoff disaster, okay? But we knew what the Wilpons were. But I'm going to tell you right now, bro, and I really believe this. The Wilpons would have never signed Juan Soto, not in a million years. They would have signed Alonso because just like David Wright, remember they signed David Wright, even though it didn't work out because of the injury, because of the stenosis. They would have signed Pete Alonso because they would realize what Pete Alonso means to the fan base and to the organization as a Met. I really believe. What a freaking disgrace. Steve Cohen and that little twit, David Stearns, have stuck it right up our ass. What a freaking disgrace.
Hang in there, Joe. We'll see how the rest of the offseason shakes
Merry
out.
Christmas. By the way,
Yes.
to all my fellow Met and Jet fans, Merry Christmas.
Great holiday season we have here.
Happy Hanukkah. and let me say this too. And I don't want to get political, but in this case, I'm doing it. My heart goes out to all my Jewish friends on Hanukkah for the absolute shit that we saw in Australia over the weekend. And I even think when everything comes out about what happened at Brown University, another wonderful Ivy League institution of higher learning, that we're going to find out that that was about anti-Semitism as well. So God bless. I'm going to say it like this. You can get ticked off. God bless Israel, and God bless all my fellow Jewish friends. What a freaking disgrace. Happy Hanukkah to them.
Joe, always appreciate you joining us. Hang in there, my friend. Happy holidays to you.
All right, baby. Be well. I'll talk to you after the St. Louis, okay?
Yes. Can't wait.
It's up to you, New York, New York.
Joe B in his weekly spot. Appreciate Joe joining us. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Again, we're presented by FanDuel. Joe brought up the Saints game. Here's your early look at that line for next week. Jets open as a 4.5-point underdog. And I think this line is going to move towards the Saints being a bigger favorite. I mean, the Jets have looked terrible. New Orleans, give Kellen more credit. He has them playing a lot better than they were at the beginning of the year when they looked like the worst team. That's a team that has beaten 2 division opponents in 2 straight weeks. Tyler Shuck has looked competent. So maybe New Orleans wouldn't take a quarterback anyway. So this line I could definitely see moving by the time we get to kickoff next Sunday. And every Jet fan should be rooting for a loss. I don't think you want to be embarrassed. Right? We'll see what this defense now looks like with Steve Wilks being fired for those of you just tuning in. But a win does absolutely nothing at this point. This is the last game, me as a Jet fan, I am concerned they might win. Because New Orleans, even though they're playing better, they're not a good team. Whereas when they play New England, they're not winning that game. New England will need the game. Buffalo will need the game. Last game ever at Highmark Stadium. They're not going to lose that game to the Jets. This is the last week I'm concerned with the Jets potentially winning a game. And I don't think they're going to win, but this is the last week. And we'll see what the Jet defense now looks like again. For those tuning in, Steve Wilks has been fired. Aaron Glenn announced it during his presser this morning. I have pulled the press conference. Let's listen in to Aaron Glenn talking about why he fired Steve Wilks.
Nothing much has changed from yesterday after the game when I talked. Tia has a groin. Io has a knee. Watts is being evaluated for a concussion, so he'll be in the protocol. And JJ, he actually finished. He had a deal with his neck, but he's all good. And I will have more information for you guys as the week progresses. I usually, well, not usually, but I like to talk to the team before I let any information out that regards the team in general. But I'll let you guys know that I relieved Steve Wilks from his duties this morning as our defensive coordinator. Chris Harris will actually be assuming those duties right now, and I will be helping him as he progresses through the week as our coordinator, and everybody else will stay the same. This decision that I made late last night, and I talked to him this morning, and I felt like it was the best decision for the organization at this time. And I've said this all along, that I'm evaluating players, I'm evaluating coaches, I'm evaluating myself, and I just felt like this was the best decision for right now for the team and for this organization. When it comes to the game, again, disappointed in the loss, and it's not just a loss in general, it's the way that we lost the game. But giving up the amount of points that we did, there were mistakes in this game that was somewhat uncharacteristic of us. I thought Brady did some really good things, especially the way that he started the game. I think he was 6 for 6 in a touchdown. And then he made some rookie mistakes, like you would expect any rookie would make. And I see that he's going to get better. He's going to get better. When it moves forward as far as who's going to be our quarterback, I'll go ahead and say it now. I'm going to evaluate that and let you guys know that as this week progresses. But again, I was disappointed in the loss, and there's a lot of things that we got to get better at. But one was making the decision of the coordinator. And listen, Steve's a really, really good person. I think he's a really good coach. But again, I thought this was the best decision for this team. So any questions?
So why do you think it just didn't work with Steve?
Say that one more time. You cut out.
Why do you think it didn't work with Steve? You obviously, what you talked about last week, your belief in him, and why this didn't work, you think?
Listen, I just thought that, from last week going to this week, that the improvement wasn't there. And I thought it was time to make a change, And again, I'm going to make the decision that that's best for this organization at all times. And it's my job to make sure I continue to evaluate everything that's going on. And I told you guys that. And, that's my job as the head coach. And I just thought this was the time for me to make that decision.
So will Chris be calling the defense, Aaron, or will you be calling
Chris will be calling the defense. He's done it before in the preseason. Again, I will be assisting him as the week goes by on game planning. But I've said this before, that this is the league of change, and with change come opportunity, and this will be a good opportunity for him to get a chance to call it.
What do you want to see happen with this defense over the next 3 weeks now, Aaron?
I want to see consistent improvement. I want to see structure that's consistent. I want to see play that's consistent, and I want to see the character of the culture of this football team come together. And that's just the defense I know you asked me about, but I'm just talking about in general. I want to see the culture of this football team in these last 3 games, and that's what I'm evaluating also. Listen, I don't think we have a culture problem, but the thing is, I want to make sure the things that we've been building up to this point stays exactly where it is and even improve. So, but defensive, that's what I want to see, consistency about how we operate, the way that we play.
AG player
You keep cutting out.
You were always very highly accountable as a player, in my recollection. I'm just curious, as part of your measurement of character and culture, you had a couple of your defensive leaders yesterday that refused to speak to the media, both on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
After what took place yesterday. Where does that fall into that culture and that accountability fall into that kind of culture that you're trying to build? Are you okay with that? Is that, I mean, obviously a fair choice, but it wasn't a good look.
Well, I think you just said it is their choice. And, I don't know why they would, they made the decision that they made, but it's their decision. They're grown men. And, who knows, maybe it's an emotional time after a game. And sometimes, the guys just doesn't feel like talking. Hell, I don't feel like talking all the time, but I know that's what I have to do, So I wouldn't hold that against them as far as it's a culture or a character problem. I mean, I'm sure just like you don't feel like talking, after, things are not good all the time, So, but I wouldn't hold that against them. Our guys are not that type of guys. I think you know that. And maybe they were just pissed at the way that they played.
I understand that. I
Yep.
understand it's an emotional time in locker rooms there, but I'm curious. I mean, it does fall into accountability to some degree. I mean, that your fans want to know why the 48 points was put up on your defense, and and a Jermaine and a Quincy doesn't.
Yep.
They don't want to talk about it. It's not a good look.
Yeah, and I understand that. I do understand that, but again, it was their choice. Maybe they just wasn't up to talking at that time. But I'm sure you'll hear from those guys. So, again, don't take it too hard on those guys. You'll hear from those guys. Those guys are grown men, and they're going to step up to the plate when it's time. I think yesterday was just a day that they were pretty pissed off at the way the defense played. And I know that about them. So I would ask you, to give those guys a shot, give them another chance, and they will step to the plate, and they will talk about it.
Aaron, you mentioned the quarterback decision.
Yep.
Could you just give us some clarity? Like, there's a chance still with Justin. There's still a chance with Tyrod. Like, where are they health-wise? Yeah,
but again, I think you guys know at this time on a Monday, we don't get everything because, man, there's a process that we go through. And again, you guys, I'm gonna give you that information on Wednesday. If it's very clear on what my thoughts are, and that hasn't changed, and you know that, Kyle. So.
Yeah, I guess at this time of year,
yeah.
Right, with the record where it is, you see it all across the league. Teams make decisions. Would you go, hey, let's give Brady a look because he's more of an unknown than Tyrod and Justin.
Yeah.
Right. Again, you're talking about evaluation. He could be a backup quarterback next year. He could be a starting quarterback next year. I don't know. Like, does that factor into that equation rather than this guy's number one on the depth chart? He's healthy. He's going to.
Yeah. Listen, I understand your question, but I'm going to also be consistent by the way that I go about doing things. And I think you understand how I do that. And I'm going to make sure this thing plays out the way it needs to play out. And I'm going to evaluate this whole thing up until Wednesday, and I'll give you guys a good answer going into Wednesday.
Take a couple more.
You're breaking up.
We're watching the Aaron Glenn presser. Steve Wilks has been fired. Chris Harris is taking over as the defensive coordinator and the play caller for the final 3 games. So Glenn will not get involved in his own defense. Again, Steve Wilks fired. We're reacting in real time here. Hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're a Jet fan, we talk Jets 365 days a year, 4 hours a day. You won't find that anywhere else. Thanks for tuning in as we listen in on Aaron Glenn.
Rich, your connection's pretty bad.
All right. With Garrett Wilson, what are the chances of him playing again this year?
Again, this is Monday, and I'll find a lot of that out. All right, going later in today, and you guys get that answer on Wednesday. But hopefully he does. I think we all hope that he plays this year. But I want to make sure I give you guys a true answer when it comes to that.
Did you get a chance to look at the penalty on the punt return? Did you get a chance to review that? And would you send that into the league?
Yeah, I am. I mean, that was a critical time in the game because I think it would have took it at 21-14 at that time. Man, it was a hell of a return. And listen, there was hand fighting, when they both out of bounds. But I just think that was somewhat ticky-tack. And we'll see exactly what they say when it comes to that. And just like most of those penalties, man, if it's a penalty that I know that, our guys made, listen, I don't worry about those. But some of them that I just really want to understand, like, how do I coach the player? When the player asks me about this penalty, those are the ones I send in for the most part.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach.
All righty.
Steve Wilks has been fired. Aaron Glenn speaking with the media, breaking down that decision. Ultimately, what I believe happened was when Aaron Glenn watched the film, it was even worse than what he saw on the sideline standing there. I believe Aaron Glenn saw a team that quit on the field on Sunday. And the second Aaron Glenn at his post-game press conference, when asked about Steve Wilks, said yesterday, we're running the Wilks system, he separated himself from his handpicked defensive coordinator. The writing was on the wall that Wilks was not going to survive. The question was, would he survive the season? And the answer is no. So with 3 games to go, he's fired. And Steve Wilks did a horrendous job. It was the right process to bring in someone to this coaching staff with previous head coaching experience. This defense was bad for almost the entirety of the season. They do not have an interception. We just wrapped up week 15. They have 2 defensive takeaways all year. All year. They are always outcoached, not in the right position. They are fundamentally unsound. They don't tackle well. You cannot name basically any player on defense that has actually improved. Steve Wilks was terrible. He had to go. But this doesn't exonerate Aaron Glenn. He hired Wilks. This was a major whiff by the head coach, who's a defensive guy. And at some point, you'd like to see Aaron Glenn get involved with his defense, right? This is your unit. You're a defensive coach. You became a head coach because you had success as a defensive coordinator. And for Glenn to sit up there yesterday and say it's the Wilks system, well, no, it needs to be the Glenn system. You need to be more involved. Trying to separate himself from Wilks, it's all concerning. It's the right move to get rid of him. For tanking purposes, I wouldn't have minded if they just kept him for 3 more games. Probably won't matter. Jets probably still won't win another game. But again, Steve Wilks had to go. He was really bad. But this doesn't exonerate the head coach either. And if you're a Jet fan, there's just a lot of concerns going into the offseason, even if they're armed with cap space and draft capital to hopefully get their franchise quarterback going forward. There's a lot of concerns. Quarterback evaluation and development. Aaron Glenn handpicked Justin Fields. He publicly said Fields has never been coached properly. He promised to unlock his potential. Instead, Fields had arguably played the worst football we've ever seen from him. That raises questions about this regime's ability to identify and then develop the right quarterback. We've seen some terrible game management failures. Glenn said the final 4 minutes of each half belonged to the head coach, yet his pre-halftime decision-making and end-of-game decision-making at times this year has been really bad. We all remember what happened in the London game against Denver. He didn't know the distance of a potential game-winning field goal. And what really concerns me the most, again, is the player regression across the roster. Glenn promised coaching would elevate players on this team. Instead, nearly everyone has regressed. He specifically cited Will McDonald as a player who would benefit from better coaching. McDonald went from 10.5 sacks last year to 7 this year with, let's be real, 4 of them coming in one game and 2 of them coming in week 1, right? You take out the Browns game, you take out week 1, Will McDonald has 1 sack this year. He's been absent. Jermaine Johnson's been absent. We got 2 first-round picks on the defensive line, and they have no pass rush. Name one defensive player who's clearly improved. To me, it's just, excuse me, I'm sick talking about this team. Jawan Briggs. And we wanted to give Glenn some credit. Oh, they play hard for him. Last 2 weeks, they allowed 24 points and 31 points in the first half. These games were over at halftime, right after Glenn claimed the team was turning a corner. They've been unprepared. They've been uncompetitive in a lot of games this year. A real coach does not need 2 special team touchdowns just to narrowly beat the awful Cleveland Browns. Like, the only thing you can give Glenn credit for is he hired a great special teams coordinator. No one expected this team to be great. We all asked for improvement. We all asked for signs of progress. And it felt like after the 0-7 start, they were 3-2 over their next 5. And now we're right back down to where we were. We're back at 0. The entire roster has regressed or has been stagnant. The most impressive aspect of this team has been Darren Muji in his in-season trades. They added some talent. But I still have major concerns about the head coach, and I don't think he's going to get fired. I think he's going to obviously get another year, but I understand why there's a lot of Jet fans hesitant to fully buy in, even with the draft picks and the free agent spending. Glenn's got to still prove a lot. This is the guy who said he wanted the Jets to be a team fans could be proud of. And you compare this team to last year's team and some of the players who were here, and they've all gotten worse. When the entire team goes backwards, you start with the head coach. And we know there's a talent issue. Of course, the roster has problems, but Aaron Glenn's the CEO of the team. He's the leader. So there's just major concerns. And again, we could say give him credit for firing Wilks, but he hired him. Right? Like Brian Costello, it's a good sign Glenn recognized his mistake in hiring Wilks and moved on. Well, I mean, he hired him in the first place, though. That's not a good sign. Now we got to hope that he rectifies the Wilks hire and hires a good DC. I don't know who that guy is. There's some proven commodities that could be available. Wink Martindale, Jim Schwartz. I'd take a chance on a guy like Jim Leonard, young up-and-coming guy, former Jet. Maybe he'd love to come back and be a DC. He's the assistant head coach on Sean Payton's staff right now. He's basically like the number 2 in charge of their defense under Vance Joseph, who's their DC there. There's a lot of concerns with this team. But the defense in particular was an abomination all year. And I think players were going to revolt if Aaron Glenn didn't make this move today. But again, go back to his comments yesterday. He referred to it as Wilks' defense. He immediately tried to separate himself from that. That was like preservation mode for Glenn. Like, let's blame it on him. Well, the next time it's now going to be him who's getting the blame. So he better get this hire right. Because I'm telling you, folks, we all think, Woody's not going to get rid of Glenn after next year anyway. They have all the picks in 2027. The Jets go out there this year. They finish with 3 wins, and then they go from 3 wins to, let's say, 4 or 5 wins in 2026. There's no guarantee that Aaron Glenn survives that season. They got to start winning now. They got to turn it around now. And this DC hire is going to be paramount. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. I am posting the Gus Buster Umbrella hotline link. For those just tuning in, let's try and manifest good Jet defense. We have a signed Joe Klecko helmet up for grabs on the show today. So make sure you enter the raffle by gifting a membership. Shout out to our guy, Frank P. Earlier in the show, he got us rolling with 20 channel membership.
Time to lose some games, bitches. You guys should be pros at this. They don't give out trophies for 4 or 5 wins.
Super chats, cut the line. Let's get to some of those, and then we'll get to your calls as well here on the show. Bino says, complete flip-flop, made no decision. Woody did. Look, I understand why some are speculating that Woody had something to do with this. I get it. I think this came down to the fact the team would have revolted if they kept Wilks for another week. They're not playing for him. You saw it. You saw guys just not care. You saw terrible effort. Guys not in the right position. Like, we've seen a lot of bad Jet performances defensively. These last 2 weeks have been 2 of the worst. Yesterday in particular, some of the worst you've ever seen. Brian says, love Garrett, but he can't hold on to the ball on big hits. Garrett Wilson's the least of their problems. All right. Garrett Wilson It's not going anywhere. They need him. And he signed. He doesn't have the same kind of deal that Sauce did where you could actually trade him and it wouldn't hurt your cap situation. Garrett is the least of their problems. Is he Justin Jefferson? No. Is he a really, really good football player who will help a young quarterback next year, whether it's Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore or whoever? Yes. The Rooster in the raffle for 2. We need so much help. We can't afford to give one high draft pick for a long shot in Mendoza. How do you know he's a long shot? Any quarterback they take could be considered a long shot. I think you have a better chance on hitting on a guy the higher he is in the draft, though. Most of the top quarterbacks in the league are first-round guys. So I'm not taking a quarterback in round 2 or round 3. I vehemently disagree with you, Rooster. If the Jets can get Fernando Mendoza, get him. If they can't, and they like Dante Moore, get him. If they don't like any of them, or they can't get those guys, then we'll have the conversation about what the pivot is, taking someone on day 2 or day 3, so you at least have some young quarterback in the pipeline. But the plan is to get a quarterback, and we'll see how the draft order shakes up. They can make a deal with the Giants, and they can make a deal with the Titans. The Raiders, look, if they like the same guy, it's going to be tough for you to make a deal with them. They're going to say no. We don't know what the Raiders' plan is. Who's their coach? Pete Carroll's probably not their coach. Tom Brady has a major influence in things. Who's he going to advocate for? There's a lot of unknown. Jake West says, I'm shocked they didn't wait till the end of the day. Why would you wait till the end of the day? You do it immediately. Players have the day off tomorrow. You start putting together the game plan for the Saints if you're one of the coaches today, and then you install the game plan Wednesday. So you do this now. You don't wait. Matt L. in the raffle for 2. WTF, Glenn doesn't feel it's a coaching problem. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. It's a cast of clowns he assembled and his ego. Give me an experienced offensive coach, the head coach and QB coach. Look, this was the concern with any first-time coach you hire. He's learning on the fly. We hope he improves because I don't think he's getting fired. Now, the only thing I could think of is if they just get embarrassed these last 3 games, after they were embarrassed against Miami, they were embarrassed against Jacksonville yesterday. Is there any chance Woody would rethink things? Probably not, but that's the only scenario I could paint for you. All right, let's get to some calls, shall we? Appreciate everyone tuned in. Make sure you guys like the video and you're subscribed to the channel. We had Joe Benigno on with us live when the news of Steve Wilks being fired initially broke, and then we just heard from Aaron Glenn during his press conference. Let's say hello right now to Jack, who's first today on the show. Hello, Jack.
What's going on, Jake? Kudos to Aaron Glenn for pulling the trigger on Wilks. I'm a little surprised he did it. I mean, I think it was just yesterday, unless I'm wrong, that he was defending Wilks and saying
I played the clip earlier. If you saw it,
I must have missed it. But yeah, talking about he brought him in here for a reason, and then he pulls the trigger. Less than 24 hours after. It was always a curious decision as to why he brought in an experienced guy on the defensive side and went with an unproven guy on the offensive side. But the one good thing for Jets fans is we are slowly eliminating the excuses that Aaron Glenn can point to when this inevitably starts to unravel. I still think there's a chance. I mean, it's a long shot that he could be fired at the end of the year, particularly if you're staring down the pipe of a young potential franchise quarterback coming in. And do you want to hand that over to a defensive guy who's never done it before?
Yep.
But yeah, man, I mean, this has been a bad run here. Aaron Glenn is out of excuses. And I think the Raheem Morris connection makes sense. And I think from Woody's perspective, you bring in a guy like Raheem Morris and he's got a built-in quote unquote head coach that he can elevate if things go down the wrong path next year. So
he's a name to watch. They're very close, and he could be fired by Atlanta. And I could see him, because someone has to want to take this job, right? Yeah. And Raheem might be willing to take it because of his relationship with Aaron Glenn. It's easy to say, Jim Leonard, but Jim Leonard probably could wait and get a better opportunity if he wanted to, or there could be a better job that opens up this offseason. Same thing with Al Harris. So, I'd love Jim Schwartz. I love Wink Martindale. They're going to have other options too. So it's going to be fascinating to see who the candidates are for this job.
Yeah, I mean, I think the attractiveness of the job is if the defense performs well and the offense sputters and Aaron Glenn ends up getting fired, like you're next in line to be able to take that head coaching position, at least at an interim level. So if you're like a Jim Leonard, I don't think there's much incentive to come on board unless you want to be able to, potentially take the job from Aaron Glenn. When I just don't. Aaron Glenn has shown nothing. I mean, outside of special teams saving a couple of games for him, there's really no positives to look at. So
no, when have the Jets had a schematic advantage in any game this year, offensively or defensively? Like, can we look at a game and be like, we had our guys in the right position for success, we outcoached them? Defense, no chance. Maybe there's been some moments offensively, but our quarterback situation is so bad, it's tough to properly evaluate Tanner Engstrand and that staff in some aspects. But like, what does Aaron Glenn really do well as a head coach? That's what concerns me. The argument from the Glenn truthers was they play hard for him. No, they don't. Not the last 2 weeks. They're taking major steps backwards. They got embarrassed by a division opponent in their own building. And then yesterday they no-showed again. After that embarrassing performance against Miami, they allowed 31 points in the first half against the Jaguars.
This feels very much to me like Robert Saleh's first year as head coach, when the defense, I think, was ranked 31st in the league, and you saw basically no signs of life at all on defense. Everyone keeps.
Excuse me, sorry. This team has more players than that team, though. They really do.
I agree.
Go and check the talent. Like, even after the Sauce and Quinnen deals, the Saleh year one, they were coming off a 2-win season. Like, they had no one on those teams. Like, this team is not great, but they have more players than that team.
I agree. I mean, that's not a defense of Aaron Glenn, by the way. It's just like, that's what it feels like to me. It's just like a level of ineptitude. I mean, on defense yesterday, it didn't even look like. It looked like they were in like a soft shell the entire game, and guys were just running free left and right. I mean, everything Aaron Glenn has preached since he got here has been just smoke. Like, he talked about having a team that you're going to be proud of. Like, there's been no hint that these guys are flying around the ball, at least with a solid defense.
He
like,
never said when we'd be proud of them. That was his spin when asked about that comment a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well, they're in a tough spot now, because even if they do pull the trigger, it's like, who's signing up for this after seeing a head coach, a former player, get fired after less than a year?
I don't think he's going to get fired. I think we got to deal with another year of this and just hope he improves. But I understand, like yourself and certainly me, like, we have major reservations. Like, I haven't seen anything that would point to the fact he's going to be a good head coach. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm a Jet fan, but it's tough.
And I again, not to like beat a dead horse here, but I never understood the hire in the first place. I never got it, other than the former player connection. Like, I never looked at that Detroit Lions defense and said, wow, those guys are good. They're fast. They're running around. And especially after you hired the guy after giving up 50 points to a rookie quarterback for the Commanders. Like, anyway, I'll let you get to other callers, Jake. But happy that Wilks is gone.
Yeah, good call, Jack. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, I think Jack speaks for a lot of fans, right? Like, I mean, if Aaron Glenn didn't play for the Jets 30 years ago, a lot of people defending him wouldn't be defending him right now. It's been really bad. These last 2 weeks have been fireable offenses, like those type of performances. Now, he's in his first year, which is probably going to save him. I don't think Woody, after firing Robert Saleh 5 games in last year, wants to now fire a franchise legend after just one season. And I think after the trades, Glenn was safe because he sold Woody on a plan of getting the quarterback this offseason. I still believe that's what happens here. I still think the Jets find a way to get one of these quarterbacks that come out, whether it's Mendoza or Dante Moore. They feel the most likely right now, but we know things change a lot over the next couple months with the draft process. So we'll see. Renzel says Glenn got hired because he's a great CEO and culture builder. Based on what exactly? What culture did he build? He gets credit for the Lions culture? That's Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. That's not Aaron Glenn. Where did Glenn's defenses rank in Detroit, by the way? Now, the one thing they did was they allowed points and yards. You know what they did? They forced a lot of turnovers. Like, that's what I thought we were getting with Glenn, right? Glenn, as a player, was phenomenal. He had like 40-something career interceptions. They don't have an interception this year. So yeah, I'm not buying the culture. No, thank you. I'm not seeing it. Snake Plyskin just sent in 99 cents. Thank you, Snake. Appreciate your support. More calls right now. Appreciate everyone being tuned in here as we react to Steve Wilks being fired. Let's say hello to Jet Set Go. Hello, Jet Set.
Hey, good morning, Jake. How you doing?
What's up, Jet Set? How you feeling?
I had that cold that you had. It's been kicking my ass for the last 2 weeks, so I apologize if I come across a little nasally, but I also missed most of your show. I wanted to super chat to Joe to take that goddamn hat off. I'm so frustrated with this team. I was at the Dolphins game. I went through a provider that's not a sponsor of yours, so they don't need to know their name, but I paid less for box tickets and special events. I was on the field for the pledge, for the national anthem. It was still not enough to keep me in the stadium past the third quarter. And I felt terrible that I booed Brady Cook, but I can't stand this team. I think I also need to see a mental health specialist because I agree with Alan. I no longer need to watch this team. Clearly, Steve Wilks has created an autopilot for tanks, and it drives straight into the muck. And it not even good enough to get us the first pick, which is really the biggest joke. And I think I was listening to the Badlands podcast, and Connor had brought it up, and I thought it was really interesting that it's funny how the head coach of the Bears, who also came from the Lions, I can't remember his name, I'm sorry. He's running a team that has one of the best defenses in the league. Meanwhile, we got the defensive coordinator, and our defense is for shit. And it is
right. The Lions lead the NFL, or not the Lions. The Bears lead the
Bears,
NFL in takeaways, and they hired the offensive guy from the Lions. We hired the defensive guy from the Lions, and we are the only team in the league without an interception this year and have 2 total defensive takeaways when the rest of the league has a minimum of at least 7 or 8, and we have 2 all year. We're not even close.
Even think you can't even try to make this up. It's so pathetic. It leads me to believe that really that offensive minded coaches are the right way to go, and everything else is kind of reactionary. You know, when the Lions were still that super group that was together, it makes me believe that because of the offense and because it would score so many points so fast, that the same thing with Saleh, right? It was the whole thing of like, my edge rushers are going to come get you. You cut the head off the snake and you play loose. And it was not a thing about, well, we got to play to watch out for this little run here or the pass here, like a little 10-yard scamper that goes for 30 because we're the Jets. And it makes me feel like they were in different positions. And I agree that it's hard to evaluate Tanner Engstrom. I am more willing to give him more time. I don't think it's his fault. Plus, how could you really judge anyone in that position? I mean, you had Justin Fields, who I was not an advocate for. I don't care what Glenn said initially. He's been a dud since he got in the league. But we also had Zach Wilson. So perhaps it's just like fan abuse at this point. I'm just tired of watching these people. I don't ultimately think we're going to get a quarterback in the first round. It's feeling more and more bleak the more that people want to go back to school. And especially with the Jets, with an opportunity to trade up, I can't even blame them as long as this guy's here. So I don't want the picks touched for the next year when we have 3 first-rounders. I'm just going to get through the next season. I'm going to watch Red Zone. I'm not going to be much of a fan. I'll tune in because I love your show, and I think it's phenomenal what you do for us to just allow us to vent and do all this other nonsense that we do here. But it's a hard watch. Let Glenn have the last year, fire him, get me an offensive coordinator. I know Kingsbury said no this time. Maybe with 3 first-rounders, I think it's going to turn a lot of heads. The last point, and I don't know how I feel, I'm conflicted, and I'll hang up and listen after this, but I think Stefanski would be a great hire, but I do have some reservations that he's never been able to really kind of coach up a rookie QB. I know he's 2-time coach of the year, which I think is better than most things we've had in the last couple decades, which is impressive. But if we're going to draft a QB, you have to be able to develop him. And I guess it's better with him than with some new offensive coordinator that would take the role. But I don't know if that leads you to any kind of pause or anything. Just an interesting thought I had.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to – if he gets fired, I don't think he would be on the Jets radar.
You'd have to be an asshole to take this job, and I can't blame anyone that skips it. I mean, Kingsbury did the right thing. Just, no, I'm good. And Ben Johnson.
And they're not going to fire Glenn, I don't think. I think he's here for another year, whether we like it or not.
And I'll give him the year. I'm with you. We're gonna have to eat that crow. I'm so tired of people taking pity on us, and it's just, oh, I'm so sorry, you're just. Yeah, I know. I'm tired of it too. And at this point, I don't even want to wear football gear. The Jets have me so distraught that I am no longer a football fan. Come as long as this douchebag is in office, in the head coach, and for him to say that he doesn't think we have a coaching problem. Read the room, dude. Read the room.
Yeah, and then a day later he fires the DC, and after he tries to separate himself from the DC he hired by saying, "Well, we're running the Wilks system." It's like, okay, man.
Even if this was a Woody sacrificial firing, as was LaFleur, I didn't think LaFleur deserved it. I know that a lot of the players had a problem with it, but at least he could get a scheme going. This douchebag had nothing going, with 0 turnovers, with 0 pressures. Jermaine Johnson, I'll give him the year. I agree that I think the Achilles tear is always a 2-year process. But Will McDonald, I always wanted JSN in that spot when he can get it. Linebackers are for shit. We're gonna have to do something. I'm almost inclined to just go get this. I know I'm not much into college football, and Domsey does a great job. But if this safety can help cover the back end and a corner situation that is now looking more bleak because it seems, I don't know if it's a Stevens problem or whatever it may be, but multifaceted players that can cover multiple spots or just kind of shade a little bit, I'm almost inclined to just fucking do it and do the quarterback 3 years later. Sorry for cursing. I know Mr. Tube doesn't like it.
Hey, I love it, Jet said. Appreciate the passion. Look, I think they need to go quarterback this year. Now, there's a different conversation if you just can't get Mendoza, if the Raiders are picking one and that's the only guy they like, or Moore doesn't declare. There's different circumstances where you would have to pivot and then maybe you would go defense, but they need a quarterback in the worst way. You just hope that if Glenn shows no improvement and they win 4 or 5 games next year and he's fired after year 2, they didn't ruin that quarterback. That quarterback could play well enough where it's like Jackson Dart. He was able to overcome a bad situation, still show enough this year for the Giants that they feel like they have their guy for whoever the next coach is. Right? Same thing with Cam Ward. He's going through it, but I don't think they're out on him by any means. He'll be their guy for the next coach they hire. And they're linked, by the way, to Mike McCarthy, which would be a really good hire by Tennessee. It'd stabilize things for them. That'd be a good hire for the Titans. I think the Giants should consider McCarthy too, but we'll see. Couple of things I want to address here because there's a guy who lacks obvious brain cells, and for that, we have to hold him accountable. This guy, Nigel, says, you thought Fields was the savior. He's a clown. If you've listened to anything I have ever said about Justin Fields, from the beginning, I told you I do not think he's the long-term answer. I do not think there's any chance that he's the guy. He was maybe the guy with the upside of what was out there. But since you are a dumbass and you have a fundamental lack of just brain cells, we will see you later.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give him another 24 hours to think about it.
I've never been a Justin Fields guy. Please. Let's see. Bino writes in, firing a franchise legend happens. Mayo, Super Bowl winner, with New England, fired, one and done because he was lost as a coach, so it's not unprecedented. Again, I think when they allowed Glenn to make the sauce on the Quinnen deals, he got a year 2. If they fired him, I wouldn't sit here being like, how could they do it? He's done a horrible job. We could be honest. The record's terrible. They've needed unbelievable special teams to win a couple of these games. It's not sustainable. Right? They beat the Cleveland Browns because they had a punt return and kick return in the same game, same quarter. They won against the Atlanta Falcons because their punt returner muffed the ball at the 2-yard line, which set up a Jet score. That was the difference in the game. Nick Falk hit from 56 yards in the pouring rain. They've been bad. And if you want to point to they're playing hard and the progress, we tried to buy into that because you're grasping at straws as a Jet fan to try and find something to grab onto. You still got to get through all these games. The last 2 weeks, all that is for naught. They have completely regressed back to what they have been, which is an awful football team that is horribly coached. And Glenn might get a year 2 because Woody doesn't want the stain of firing a coach after 1 year, admitting he made a mistake. He hired the 33rd team and they did this big search, and now you're pulling the plug on a coach after 1 year, but it wouldn't be unwarranted. I don't think they're going to do it. But it wouldn't be unjustifiable is my point. It's been that bad. I just don't think they're going to do it. I just hope Glenn improves because I don't think he's going anywhere. The Rooster with a super chat. He's in the raffle for one. What is now was the Wilks system? Why doesn't Kaz or somebody ask that question? Follow up, is it different than what you want to run? So I'm trying to interpret your super chat here, Rooster. You want the beat to follow up and ask more specifics about what is the Wilks system and why is it different than what you want to run? Okay, that's a fair question for the beat to ask the head coach. Jetstream says, the only thing I don't want for the new QB is to learn 2 playbooks in as many years. Not many success stories with that happening. Yeah, that's the other concern too, right? If Glenn is here next year, which I believe he will be, you take Fernando Mendoza in the draft. Next year goes horrible. They fire the head coach. They bring in a new coach. Yeah, he's going to learn a new offense. Doesn't always screw you up. Trevor Lawrence had a bunch of coaches. He's been okay. Not nearly as good as he played yesterday, but you could thank the Wilks defense for that. Caleb Williams has had now obviously 2 offenses in 2 years. Jalen Hurts has had so many different offensive coordinators. Baker Mayfield's had a bunch of different OCs. Like, it doesn't always screw up the quarterback, but it hurts. It could hurt development for sure. BX says, I was at the game and they look worse in person. I mean, they're horrible. I'm sorry you had to watch that. I'm going to go back to something that we had happen on the show a few weeks ago. A guy called in who works for Chat Sports, which is like a media outlet that covers a bunch of different NFL teams. And a guy by the name of Mike from Chat Sports, who covers the Lions, was watching our show. He called in and he gave us some insight then on Aaron Glenn. I want to play it for those who maybe missed it or don't remember it, because unfortunately, everything he's saying here has been correct, and this concerns me.
Hey, how's it going, guys? A Lions fan here. Wanted to
You want Aaron Glenn back?
No, absolutely do not want Aaron Glenn back. I definitely feel your pain. Aaron Glenn is definitely not the head coach material for your team, and I am sorry that you guys got bit on this lie. Aaron Glenn in Detroit was extremely arrogant, would never change his ways, but his in-game play calling is atrocious. Not scoring before the halftime twice? That's crazy. This is how he is, Jets fans. He has a way and he doesn't change. I could tell you for 3 years, the mobile quarterback would rip our defense up, do something, make a change, bench players. He wouldn't do it. Years of this. Guys, I think you got Matt Patricia 2.0. When we restarted compared to what you guys is completely different. We basically got a new owner. We got a new general manager. Chris Spielman came in and helped out. We brought in a bunch of Lions former greats. My boss, Herman Moore, he was brought in. You have Barry Sanders in there. Dan Campbell, the blue collar, grit, former player, humble guy. He's never thinking he's better than anybody else. And then you got Brad Holmes, who was all about, finding talent. You put them together. When we had the organization, we had no talent in this team, and we knew we were going to suck. We had nobody, but we had to build it the correct way through the draft. This team has sucked for so long. What we have been doing for many years does not work. We watched the games. We knew that the players were competitive. We knew that our coaches were doing the best that they could do, but we just didn't have the talent. That is the difference between the Lions and the Jets. You guys have far more talent. The quarterback position is one thing that is hurting your team, but the arrogance of Aaron Glenn, inability to remove Justin Fields or bring in another quarterback is what is destroying your franchise right now. I really hope they terminate Aaron Glenn for you and your fans. As a Lions fan, I know what misery is like. I know what watching terrible football is like. And I know when you have somebody that runs a franchise that can really hurt it for many, many years. I really hope they let him go. I think you guys made the wrong hire. I think the media completely lied to you. Everybody said he was this great genius, but as a Lions fan who watched defense every single game and called plays, I was losing my mind. It is not what they told you. Yes, we had injuries. Can't discount all the other years that he was with us. Our defense was trash the whole time. It was 31, 32, 30. And then now we get Shep come in, and it's doing great. You guys do got talent. You're going to have a high draft pick, but they got to cut the cancer out.
We appreciate it, Mike. I'm definitely rooting for the Lions and their fans, another tortured franchise. So that's a Lions fan perspective. Look, let's just hope if Glenn's here, he improves. Here's Connor Hughes on the Wilks firing.
Surprised? Yeah, a little bit, only because earlier this season, Aaron Glenn spoke at length about how much it meant to him that when everything was going so poorly early in his tenure as the Lions defensive coordinator, and everyone and their uncle was calling for his job, Dan Campbell stuck with him, and eventually things started to click for the Lions defense. They got some more talent, and with Glenn as the defensive coordinator, Ben Johnson the offensive coordinator, and Campbell leading the charge, the Lions became one of the best teams in the entire NFC. But I don't think it's apples to apples here with the Jets and Steve Wilks, which is why it was the right move to move on from Wilks as defensive coordinator here on Monday. This Jets defense was one of the best in the NFL the last couple of years under Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich, and they have deteriorated to the point where they are unrecognizable under Wilks. 20th in the league in yards per game, 30th in points per game, averaging 35 points allowed per game over their last three. Defensive cornerstones like Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald have completely and totally regressed underneath Wilks. This is a team that has set NFL history because they do not have an interception yet this season, almost unfathomable. So I know that Glenn probably wanted to stick with Wilks, and he preferred that this team stay the course, but it was clear that things were not getting better under him on the defensive side. In fact, they were getting worse. So change was inevitable, change was needed, and on Monday, change was enacted.
Again, I think it was the players quitting yesterday as the final straw. You allowed 31 points in the first half. 31. Enough said. Big Fella says, do you think the Raiders can beat the Chiefs now that Mahomes is out? It certainly makes it more possible, right? The Raiders have a tortured history, too, where they could screw up the tank as well in Pete Carroll's last game. Remember the Texans a few years ago? Lovie Smith knew he was going to be fired, and he beat the Colts in Week 18, cost the Texans the number one pick. Now, just shows you that having the number one pick is not the end-all, be-all, because the Texans fell to number 2. They took C.J. Stroud. Carolina ended up with the number one pick after they traded with the Bears, who got it. And Bryce Young has not been better than C.J. Stroud, right? So let's all obviously take a breath with draft positioning and where it ends up. There's still a lot that has to happen, and we won't know for years, and on how certain things play out. But yeah, I could see it. Maybe the Chiefs start resting a lot of their starters too. They're an older team. They're got a lot of guys banged up. I could see Pete Carroll trying to stick it to the Raiders on his way out of there. Now the Raiders, they are awful. So it's still probably unlikely, but it's at least more of a chance now. The Giants are awful too. Maybe the Raiders could beat them. I think we got 2 chances for the Raiders now to win a game. And they're the team that concerns me the most, because if they like Fernando Mendoza and they're ahead of the Jets, it doesn't matter what the Jets are willing to trade. The Raiders are going to say, no, we need a quarterback. You can make a deal with the Giants. You can make a deal with the Titans. The Raiders scare me. That Giants-Raiders game in 2 weeks. That game, and then the Raiders-Chiefs without Mahomes now, that game is everything. Kuzi, should the Jets pursue Marcus Freeman as a head coach? No. I don't think they're going to fire Aaron Glenn. I'll keep saying it. If they were to fire Glenn, you can't go to a college coach as the hire. Marcus Freeman maybe would be a really good NFL head coach. I don't know, but I can't take the risk. Stop hiring first-time guys. But if you are going to hire a first-timer, don't hire a defensive coach. Hire an offensive-minded coach for your young quarterback you're going to be picking. It's the same conversation a year ago. This is not a job, though, for first-timers. It's not. But we keep hiring first-time coaches and hoping that they are just magically great. It's a tough job. New York's unlike any other market, especially the Jet job. You needed someone with experience. We have to hope that Aaron Glenn, now that he has some experience, will learn from these mistakes and he's an improved coach next year. Otherwise, we got problems, unfortunately. More of your calls right now.
Warning! Warning! Allen alert! Shit's about to get ugly, folks. Warning! Allen alert! Hide the children!
Good morning, Jake. First of all, I have more confidence in the Titans beating the Chiefs than I do the Raiders. I actually think they're trying, and I would not be surprised if they beat the Chiefs this week. Before I eviscerate Joe B on one of his comments, I like to commend him for the heartfelt comments on the Jewish people. Just wanted to say out of the blue, and prayers to those who lost loved ones in Australia.
Well said.
Now to eviscerate Joe B. And
his
I'm not
his Pavia take, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't want him either. Especially he lost me over the weekend with the way he posted F the voters on his Instagram account. He's out at the club with a sign that says F Indiana. Like, dude, Mendoza was better than you. He deserved the Heisman. And even if you disagree, show some class, man. I don't want that guy as my quarterback. I'm good. He's also like
that
5'10".
Would be absolutely eaten up in New York. If he did anything wrong, he would get destroyed. First of all, he could barely see above the steering wheel. You want him to be our quarterback? That kid is a child. He's a child. There's no way, no how, no chance I would ever draft that guy. Even if he was an undrafted free agent, I would never bring him into this organization. That's first of all. Secondly, on what Aaron Glenn said, and I hope he's not right on this one, Garrett Wilson cannot see the field again this year. He can't.
No, I don't think he's going to. Based on what I have heard from people, I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, and again, I don't think Breece Hall should see the field again also. So
I think Breece is still playing at this point because he's clearly not 100%. I think he's playing to try and get his 1,000-yard season.
Yeah. Again, I hope the Saints win. I guess they're the only team I think that has a chance to beat the Jets. I think the Jets, as you said, they're going to get pummeled the last 2 weeks of the season against the.
He's 100 yards away, by the way. So Breece, if he can get 100 yards over 3 games, he'll be at 1,000 yards. He should be able to get there.
Yeah. As far as the 2 teams that I think would draft quarterbacks over the Jets that are above them, I agree with you. Tom Brady looks at Fernando Mendoza, and I could see him wanting him to be the face of the franchise in Vegas. So I could totally see them drafting him. And as far as the Browns are concerned, and I happened to watch some of the Browns game yesterday, he's not a quarterback in the league, Shedeur Sanders. If they can draft Fernando Mendoza, they draft him in a second. They would. So if I'm the Jets, if those 2 teams are above them, unfortunately, it's not their year, and they might have to pivot to 2027.
Unless they like Dante Moore, assuming he declares, which I think he will.
But here's the problem with Moore. Moore's 20 years old.
He'd have to sit. You should not play him right away.
Yeah. I don't see him playing at all the first year. So you're basically.
Well, that's not realistic. You know how that goes. If we say that, he'll probably sit half the year, then play.
But someone made a comment in the chat, and I think they're right. He definitely has the little Trey Lance in him. Trey Lance did not play in college, and this guy basically barely played a year.
Well, this guy played more than Trey Lance, though. He played at UCLA, then sat a year, and then he's played this entire season.
But this kid is 20 years old.
I get it. Look,
he cannot play this year.
Mendoza feels like the safer prospect because of the amount of games that he has played. He feels like he has the higher floor, but I'm not going to take more. That's who they believe in. I think it comes down to what their belief is in him compared to the other options.
And I know this team desperately needs a franchise quarterback. Please do not draft Ty Simpson in the first round. Don't.
Again, I don't think he might not even be a first round guy, honestly, the way he's played the last month. It's a shame. Really, ever since the LSU game, he's not been good. Now, to be fair to him, he does get a chance in the playoff to kind of redeem himself. If he looks good against a good Oklahoma defense in the playoff, all of a sudden the narrative could flip and change. And he's an older prospect too. So if he declares, there'll be someone that takes a chance on him. So there's a lot of things that still could change the consensus order on these quarterbacks.
And finally, what Joe mentioned about the game next week, I happen to be going to College Station next Saturday afternoon. I'm looking forward to that when Miami plays Texas A&M. That's going to be a great game. Looking forward to watching Carson Beck against the SEC defense. I don't think he's a first-round pick. I think he's a day 2, maybe early day 3 pick. But it's a good opportunity to watch him. Again, he was once considered a top 10 pick, but his luster has definitely fallen. A good opportunity to beat a really good team on the road would definitely help his draft stock, but definitely looking forward to that one. And again, if any Jet fans, I know there are old school Jet fans who still want the Jets to win, please do not watch the final 3 games. The Jets cannot win. It's beneficial for this franchise for them to go 3-14. Again, a win against New Orleans, they dropped from 5 to 9. And then you're completely out of the quarterback situation. So
unless you want to pay an arm and a leg, which I know a lot of fans don't want to do.
Okay. Always a pleasure, man.
Alan, you got it. I actually don't disagree with any of that. I think at this point, losing is clearly in the Jets' best interest. So is gifting memberships like the Austrian Jet fan did, baby. Our first gifted membership in show because Frank P made it rain before we even got going today. For those tuning in late, we have a great giveaway across our shows today. We're going to give away a signed Joe Klecko helmet, and the raffle is tomorrow. I haven't even mentioned it, but this is your last day to enter. We got 3 signed Jet prizes tomorrow that are up for grabs in our 53rd raffle. Our top prize is a signed football by Darrelle Revis, signed jersey by Wayne Corbett, and a signed photo by Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson. So make sure you enter for your chance to win any of those 4 items, including ended today the signed Klecko helmet. Ryan McCarthy is in the raffle for one as well. Shout out to you, Ryan. I know you won a raffle prize last week on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, more of your calls coming up right now. Let's say hello to the champ who's on the line.
The only thing better than all them shoes is Joey D, cause he totally rules. Jake, my brother, I'm high as a kite. I love everybody. Damn, this show is crazy.
Jake, my brother.
Mr. Bonesy, how we feeling?
You know, I'm feeling as good as you can be at our amazing record. I got a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. More negatives than positives. But while we're obviously the defense is Wilks had to go. I'm sure Glenn watched the film and was like, all right, I guess I got to go back on what I said yesterday because it was this bad. Watching the players quit, we haven't seen that once this year, so that wasn't a good feeling. But while we're all down, one positive that I will look at is, I don't know how everybody feels, if they feel the same way about me, but I look at what Glenn is he's a CEO type. Obviously, he's not calling the plays. You've been screaming it from the rooftops for how long? Give us an offensive first guy so our head coach can call the plays. I can't really think of too many head coaches that are defensive orientated that call the plays. Like it's like D'Amico and I don't know. Sirianni doesn't call the plays. Who's the coach of Washington? Why am I forgetting his name?
The coach of Washington is Dan Quinn. D'Amico does call the plays, by the way, just so you know.
No, that's what I mean. Besides D'Amico, like Sirianni doesn't call the plays. I don't think
he doesn't.
I can't think of. It's mostly offensive coordinators, and then they have a solid defensive coach.
Tomlin doesn't call plays. Like the established coaches, a lot of them don't, but the newer coaches typically do, and that includes newer on defensive side of the things too, right? With D'Amico, who we brought up. I mean, again, the concern with Glenn is it's another first-time coach learning on the job. It's not even that he doesn't call plays. It's, here we go. He's in it right now. Like, are we sure he's the guy? I mean, there's no track record to bank on it. It's just banking on the fact that, well, they hired him. He's the Jet coach. He played for them 30 years ago, so we want it to work.
Well, let's talk about Glenn's positives, right? While it's looking as bad as it is, he hit on, in my eyes, he hit on offensive coordinator. I don't care what anybody says. We are running a legitimate NFL offense with 2 wide receivers that weren't even here a couple weeks ago. Isaiah Williams looks like a solid NFL slot guy, and he's the best kickoff returner in the NFL. So in my eyes, Tanner is his first year as offensive coordinator, obviously has some bad calls, but he schemes people open. Our offense looks like a normal offense could look, and it's Brady Cook, a UDFA, running it with receivers he has no chemistry and no offseason with. I don't know. The offense, to me, as bad as it looked, some of those interceptions, two of them were bad, but that diving interception was ridiculous, and Lazard has to make a better play on coming back. Same with Arian Smith, who's been a complete bust. But then also Chris Banjo, that's a great offense. That's a great hire, right?
I think that's the best thing about Glenn. You could say he hired Banjo. But
what about Muji? You got to give him some credit for him and Muji coming together. I mean, or do we give Muji to Tenenbaum? I feel like Glenn had to have some say on who he wanted.
He advocated for Muji. There's no doubt.
Muji's, to me, is so far he's a pretty good GM with the moves he's made. I liked his draft. You give me Tanner Anstring, who's a positive, young, offensive, good coordinator.
I don't know if we can count Angstrom as a win yet. I'm not as down on him as some are in the fan base because I do see some positives. Like even Brady Cook looking somewhat, playable as a UDFA is not nothing. Like I know he threw the bad interceptions, but like
Taylor was out. We don't have our best guy. Garrett Wilson's out. I mean, we have Alan Lazard in week what? Still in the running plays? Like, it's bad. And it still looks like a real offense. It doesn't look like your eyes.
There are some concerns though, Bonesy. Like we're like some of these were kind of stretching for the positives. Like, yes, he hired Banjo, that's great, but you know, he hired Wilks, and that's been a colossal failure. And what's more important, a good DC or a great, like, if we could flop
DC's more fixable, right? To you, I feel like you could bring in a Jim Schwartz or a Wink, or you could bring in somebody.
These guys want to work for Glenn, though, right? That's the thing.
You're right.
I don't know.
That is definitely a big thing. And then my next thing, I mean, those are just me trying to be positive. Obviously, I hate what Glenn did on a lot of things. Like, I wasn't a big Glenn guy. I'm just trying to look at the positives through the lens of a real Jet fan who doesn't.
The positives are they have $100 million in cap space and a lot of draft picks, and we think the GM has shown some competency here, but it feels like there's a lot of red flags though with this coach, and we're about to, in all likelihood, entrust him to oversee the development of a top quarterback pick in the draft, and that's scary for a lot of Jet fans, and I get it.
No, I am.
These last two games are alarming. Like, if you're a well-coached team, you're a buttoned-up operation, you don't allow 31 points to the Jaguars a week after you allowed 24 points in the first half against the Dolphins. Like, they have just been outclassed, unprepared. Like, and some of the things we were giving Glenn praise for was they play hard for him, and they're showing improvements. And really, you take a step back now. They beat the Browns, and it had everything to do with 2 special teams touchdowns, which is not sustainable. The Browns suck. The Falcons game required some flukiness where they muffed the punt at the 2-yard line, and that gave you 7 points. It took a Nick Folk amazing kick in the rain to steal that one. It's not great. Like, the Bengals game was like a real outlier game, but we've seen they're not a good team this year. Like, they don't really have like a signature win we could point to. And again, there's no like hallmark to what Aaron Glenn does really well as a coach that I could point to. Like, you can't tell me they play hard for him. They don't. Like, that's been proven false these last 2 weeks.
I've been playing hard for him. Yesterday was the first time where you actually saw the defense.
And Miami too, man. That was terrible as well. Division opponent, you show up, you get down 21-0 in the first quarter. You weren't prepared for that game.
Wilks is obviously a disaster. He can't scheme up anything, but our stars have really fed into just.
And who's gotten better? That's honestly what concerns me the most. Like, Glenn was so big all summer on emphasizing how coaching will help this team be better, that like the sum of the parts will be better than the individual players. Who on this team has gotten better from a coaching standpoint? Like, who's improved? Like, they have 2 first-round pass rushers that have been terrible. But it's stuff like that. Like, it's not enough. Like, the players who are supposed to be here, they invested in Jamie and Sherwood. That was their decision. He's unplayable. Quincy Williams has been terrible. We know that he's been a first team All-Pro not that long ago. Like, Stevens has been up and down this year. That was their big signing in the secondary. They brought back Isaiah Oliver and Tony Adams. Like, they decided to tender these guys contracts. It's just, there's a lot of concern I have with just some of these like red flags that are there. And I don't think he's going to be fired. I'm hoping that he learns from it. And if you want to say, hey, give him credit for firing Wilks now and admitting the mistake, okay. But, that hire is super important on top of, everything else that's going to go into this offseason trying to find the quarterback.
Well, let's see how we play, how our scheme defensively goes this week, the last couple of weeks. Now that we know Wilks is gone, it better look a little different because it better have Glenn's fingerprints on it. We know we're stuck with Glenn, and I still feel like when we made those trades with Sauce and Williams, we kind of knew this is the closest thing you're going to get to a tank. I mean, on defense, we got Stiggers out there playing corner, and day 3 picks in Malachi Moore, who we're hoping to see develop. But we've seen some development on offense. I feel like our offensive line has been much better than it has in years past. Everyone has stayed healthy, which has been great, but you see the gel on offense. You see development on these new wide receivers that have came in and just learning a scheme. And I don't know. I just feel like we're stuck with Glenn, and I don't want to just waste so much time talking about firing him as much as what can we squeeze out of a little positivity just to stay like
I don't think he's going to get fired. So we have to try and find the positives because I think he's here. I don't think he's going anywhere.
One thing that sucks, one thing that is really, really bad is that I hate to say it, but we are not going to have a chance at Mendoza. The Raiders are the worst team in the NFL. They are not winning another game. The Giants are going to blank them. If you watch the Giants play, the Giants aren't that bad on offense. Their defense is terrible, but the Raiders are disgusting.
The Raiders are the worst team, so it'd be a surprise if they won. But
Mendoza, Brady's going to want to do it.
We don't know if they'll love Mendoza, though. Maybe they like Dante more. Like, there's just there's a lot of unknown. Maybe they want a veteran quarterback, too. Like, how do we know they're definitely going to go with a quarterback? Like, there's so much unknown.
It's our luck. You know how it is. This is the year. How many times have we said right now, oh, well, how many times has it happened that the first quarterback picked isn't the best one, right? Well, this year it's going to be the best quarterback because
look. They could. I just think there's a lot of unknown. You'll drive yourself crazy, like trying to just assume there's no way. Like maybe they beat the Chiefs without Mahomes now playing, right? Maybe they do beat the Giants. Are awful. Like I know they, have Dart who's flashed at times.
Oh man, Jackson.
Yeah, but they're not good around him though. They're horribly coached.
Adabu's out. All their guys are out. Neighbors went down. They have no.
All I know is the Lovie Smith-led Texans won a game no one thought they were going to win, the last game of the year. They were playing as bad as the Raiders are. I was in Houston covering it. Like I did radio for 4 hours a day there. They won that game. It cost them Bryce Young. And turns out that was the best thing that happened to them because C.J. Stroud's way better than Bryce Young. So, again, I know we all like Fernando Mendoza right now, but like if Dante Moore declares and the Jets end up with him, we'll root for him and hope that he could be the best quarterback of the draft class, because oftentimes the first guy taken doesn't end up being the best guy. There's just a lot of unknown. I'm not going to panic yet, but again, I'd love to see the Raiders win one more game, Jets to lose out, Jets be in front of them, and then you feel good about getting the guy you want.
That would be incredible. Gardner Minshew is going to come in with the Chiefs and definitely beat the Titans. Raiders. God, I will give a lot to see the Raiders win a game. It's not happening. And that's the one team that I'm worried about. Cleveland with 2 quarterbacks on the roster, I still think they would make the trade to rebuild. With Deshaun Watson coming back next year, I couldn't see them doing another. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but I don't know, Jake. I'm sick of just being so upset all the time. The group chats that we have with the fellas, it's like, I can't.
It's depressing, man. It's having to root for losses sucks. Like it's better for the Jets. I think anyone with a brain understands that. But like, I'm just so tired of having to talk about draft picks and quarter. It's just like the Jets have been bad for so long, and they're not even close most years. Like they were alive going into the last 2 games of the season in 2022, and outside of that, they have given you nothing. Really, they've been eliminated. 2015, they got eliminated the last game of the year. I was talking about this with my friend Dan, who's a diehard Jet fan. That was 10 years ago already. The last time they came close to actually making the playoffs or were alive going into the last week of the year. The only other time they were alive after the new year was in 2022. They were alive going into Seattle, the second to last game of the year, and then got eliminated when Mike White played with the crack ribs and was terrible. So, like, that's it. Like, they're not even close any of these years. We're doing mock drafts in October. This year, we knew after Tampa when they were at 0-3, the season was likely cooked, which is exactly what happened.
That was the last time we had a real offensive coordinator in LaFleur. And you had to get rid of him because him and Zach Wilson were butting heads. And that was still when I feel like Woody was Mendeling.
Well, yeah, Woody definitely directed the LaFleur firing. Sal didn't want to fire his best friend's brother.
It's like that was one of the biggest things that I feel like Sal, even from that point on, was just like, God, I really don't have control of this team.
He was neutered. Yep, the owner neutered him.
I know I'm reaching for positives, but I do look at Muji as a good GM, and I personally like.
I think Muji's a big positive, 100%.
And I love Banjo, and I honestly I will die on the rock of Tanner is a first year young offensive coordinator who has shown that with what he's given, he can still. You don't have to say to him like we're losing because our team, the offense is so depleted. Like they're still trying. They're putting up points. They put up 21. Like they're still like Brady Cook is a UDFA. He's not even supposed to be in the league, and he still ran the offense. We've seen so much uglier offense in the years past that an ugly day like that to me is like, the offense wasn't that bad. He still was completing passes and ran the plays and schemed people open. So
Let him start the last three. He at least he's playable to get through a game. Like, it wasn't like Luke Falk where it's like you lose the entire locker room if you played him another game. Like, you could get through the final three with him.
100%. He's much better than the Boyles and maybe not Trevor Siemian. Maybe Siemian was better, but that's all.
They went 2-1 with Trevor Siemian. Never forget.
We did. Just trying to be a little positive because it is really bad. It is anywhere you go. It's so negative. It's just. I'm just trying to give people a little bit of because we're stuck with Glenn, guys. Glenn is not going anywhere. He made a terrible pick with Justin Fields. I guarantee all the Justin Fields truthers would have rather died on the ship of Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, even though that wasn't going to be the big answer. You still would have rather went down that route and had that than what we had. And Tanner had to work with Justin Fields, who can't even fucking make a throw. So. Be positive, guys. That's all I can say, man. You don't want to be negative.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why he's the champ. Mr. Bonesy, everybody. That's how we all felt yesterday watching the Jets. We're like, why do we do this? Maybe some of you didn't do it. Maybe you turned it off. I sat there and I watched all of it. Papa Jet says, I want in on a Joe Klecko signed helmet. The 73 in my name, that's because of number 73. On the field and number 1 in your hearts. He's in the raffle for 5.
Jets, Jets.
If Papa Jet gifted you a membership, make sure you say thank you. Chris is in our raffle for 2. Not my style to shit on fans, but the field stands going after Brady Cook is so pathetic. Justin being benched for a UDFA as a 5th-year starter is worse than how Brady played in his first NFL start. Brady Cook yesterday, and even when he came in against the Dolphins, looked better at times than Fields has in a lot of games this year. Justin Fields stinks. All right, we could stop. Brady Cook is also not good, but guess what? He's not supposed to be. Justin Fields has been given chance after chance. It's never him, Fields fans. It's everyone else. The guy's just not good. All right, he had 4 games this year where he couldn't pass for more than 60 yards in a game. Enough said. All right, can we stop with Justin Fields? He stinks. And also, I'll say it because the beat is tiptoeing around this bullshit. He's not hurt. Can we acknowledge Justin Fields' mysterious knee soreness is bullshit? It's him quitting on the team. He doesn't want to play. Knee soreness, please. He just conveniently picks up knee soreness when he's not playing for a couple weeks. When did he get hurt? Oh, he got hurt in practice. Okay, sure. Knee soreness. Yeah, I'll play along. I don't buy that for a second. I guess there's no way to prove it. But anyone who thinks Justin Fields is actually hurt, when this is the same guy when he spoke to the media after he was benched, and he said he'd have reservations about coming in as part of a Wildcat package because of a soft tissue injury that could emerge. And then conveniently now he has knee soreness, please. Anyone who thinks Justin Fields is actually hurt, there's a bridge I'd love to sell you. I'm not buying it. All right? The beat can't say it because they got to only report based on factual information. Someone has to tell them that and no one's talking. But you could see it, like the way like the Jets are trying to like tiptoe around this mysterious injury with Fields. Bunch of BS. All right. And I don't want him playing anyway, but come on. Tyrone's in our raffle for 1. Thank you, Tyrone. I would not be surprised if Woody fires Glenn after today. Fire the DC. Love Glenn as a player. I don't think he's Tyrone, if I'm trying to understand your super chat here because it's a little cluttered, I'm going to separate your 2 points. You're saying you wouldn't be surprised if Woody fires Glenn after today. I would be. I don't think Aaron Glenn's getting fired. Certainly not today. And with 3 games left. And look, we all, I think, can respect Aaron Glenn, the football player and great Jet player. You have to separate Glenn, the player, from Glenn, the head coach. Has he done a good job this year? Ask yourself that. What are his strengths? What has improved? Which players have developed? I haven't seen enough of it. It's concerning. More calls right now. Jared is next on our show today. Hello, Jared.
Hey, Jake. How we doing?
What's up, Jared?
I heard you on ESPN, and then I jumped over here, and I just want to say you do a great job. I listen to you every Sunday morning. I have to go to work, so you're kind of my comfort show to get out of bed and get moving and stuff. So I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Jared.
You're very welcome. And Beast Breaker is amazing. He's been a delight for my time on this show.
Is this your first time calling, Jared?
This is my first time calling.
Awesome, man. I got you in the raffle for 2 for being a first-time caller.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So I actually have a few points. I think everything's going as planned. I think the three mistakes they made was Wilks, Justin Fields, and the Sherwood contract. Sherwood has cement on his feet. I don't like the guy, but I do think everything is going as planned. Jake, you've been covering sports for a long time. Every new regime that comes in wants their guys, right? So you come into this season, you say, all right, we got our core, we got Sauce, we got Q, we got JJ, Brees Hall, etc., right? We have all these players, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, we're going to pull the plug here, right? Because every regime wants their guys, and the guys that they want are not on this football team right now, right? That's why
I don't think they thought they were going to be this bad, though, Jared. Obviously,
I don't think so either.
It was going to take more than 1 year to build the team up and get like the quote unquote players that Glenn and Muji want. I think they completely overestimated their roster coming into the year. They thought, to quote the head coach, their coaching abilities would maximize the existing talent they highlighted ad nauseum all offseason, right? They signed Sauce, they signed Garrett. Sherwood was their move, right? Like we thought, hey, would Sherwood be a good fit at his size for a Glenn defense? And well, it turns out those concerns were validated, but they paid him and he's been terrible. So, like obviously they pivoted at the deadline when they were 1-7 and got the huge haul of picks. So the plan is now changed, but I don't think they in their wildest imagination thought that it was going to be this bad and they'd be, a 3-win team on December 15th.
And I agree with that, right? Because I think when you had the core that we had, they definitely believed that, we could pull. I mean, we were saying 7 games, 8 games, we were high on Justin Fields. And, I hate to admit it, Jake, I was a little excited just to see where it would go with him. I understood the risk they were taking. And I do think it was a huge mistake in the end. And I'll take fault for believing in that. My thing is, I think they always had the intention of potentially pulling the plug here, right? You sign Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, right? You ensure those contracts. So if a trade is to happen, any team that's going to call you is going to be ready to add that contract to their books, right? So when you get to the trade deadline, you have Sauce Gardner traded. Okay, he's gone. That was a fleece. Sauce Gardner hasn't played in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, he got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's still a fleece, right? You get 2 first-round picks.
The trades were the right moves, and they have aged so far really well. Like the Cowboys are going to miss the playoffs. That pick in the second round is going to be pretty high. The best part about that deal too, they get the better of the Packers or the Dallas pick next year. So let's say Jordan Love, God forbid, gets hurt, right? We just saw Micah Parsons tear his ACL. Like there's things happen. So I have no issue with the trades. The pivot was smart. The problem now is expecting them to get the right quarterback, develop the right quarterback. Like, have you seen enough development from a coaching standpoint that makes you feel good about whoever the quarterback is, even if they get Mendoza, if that's their guy? Like, is he being put into an environment where he's going to be successful? Maybe. I have doubts, though. I don't think Engstrand's been great. He's been okay.
Look, I think it's fair for you to have doubts, Jake, but at the end of the day, let's be real. He was never going to be a one and done. And I've heard your takes on X and everything like that. I don't think he was ever going to be a one and done, right?
I think if they went winless, right? We were taking bets on the show from callers who thought the Jets were going to finish 0-17, which I never bought. If they won 2 games and they looked how they did the first 7 weeks, I think it was a possibility if they were sitting there with the number 1 pick, Jared, and we're saying, well, why wouldn't you get an offensive coach when you're blessed with that pick? But again, I think when they were able to make those trades, it bought this regime a year too. So I don't think Aaron Glenn's getting fired.
Oh, no, I don't think he's getting fired either. And I hate to bring it up, but I always look at Dan Campbell. The guy was horrible in the first 2 seasons. They had a lot of work to do, and he's developed into a great coach. When you hire a first-year coach, you have to give him time. You have to do it because we don't know what he's capable of turning into. In the beginning of the season, the penalties were horrible. They were very undisciplined. It looked like the players on the defensive side were not buying into the scheme that Wilks was trying to create for them, which is why he got fired today. He should have been fired 8 weeks ago, but that's the end of the story. However, Jake, I will say I played offensive line in high school and a little bit in college. This offensive line is looking really good. Armand Membu looks incredible. He's fast off the ball, great pass protection. So I think we have a foundation here with the offensive line. I don't know who we're going to get at quarterback because where we're sitting right now is really tough, right? The guy we want is at the top. Are we going to trade up? What are we going to do? I'm not quite sure, but it all starts with the offensive line for me. I'm very happy about that. And all the Moogie haters, they need to calm down This guy's doing his job.
I think I don't think there are a lot of Muji haters. I think
I see him. I see him personally. I see a lot of people that
look.
want
He hasn't been
everyone gone.
perfect. Obviously, there's been some moves that haven't worked. Some of it, I think, like Fields to me is more Glenn than Muji. I think, like you listen to Glenn's comments,
had to be.
that was all like I went up against him in Detroit, and he was really tough to game plan against. Like I think Muji has done well with the in-season stuff, which has helped. And his first draft class, which Glenn should get credit for too, because they work in a tandem in that regard. They should get some credit there, right? You mentioned Membu. But again, Jared,
but Arian Smith isn't great either.
He's unplayable, and we knew that when they drafted. Where are all the Jet fans saying Arian Smith? Oh,
yeah. Well, listen, it's a smart pick in a sense of if we can develop his possession ability,
not in the fourth round. Not in the fourth round. You can't take a guy that was a seventh round talent in the fourth round.
Yeah. So, and look, we still have Brees, which I think they kept him because the offers weren't good. I think they really had the intent to trade him. But I heard they were getting third round offers. Some were like a 3 and a 4. So I like Brees on this team. I like GW on this team. I've been at the last time the Jets made the playoffs, Jake, I was a junior in high school. Okay. I know what pain is. I understand.
And look, you bring up some positives, Jared, but you have to acknowledge there are some pretty big red flags so far with this head coach. Like,
well, the red flag was the way that he came into this situation
and misevaluated the roster and set the expectations a lot higher than they ever should have been set. And again, here's how you know that they misevaluated things. If they thought they were going to be bad or doing like a soft tank, however you want to describe it, they would not have absorbed the Rodgers cap hit over 2 years. They would have just taken it on the chin this offseason and understood what this year was going to be. But the way Glenn came in and talked about coaching the existing guys up, talking about what they could do for Fields, he's never been coached properly. They're going to let him play quarterback. They're going to put him in position to succeed. And it's been everything but that, right?
You can't beat your chest, especially when this is a new gig for you. I definitely agree. And, we got teased, man. Week 1 looks so good. The team
and then teams adjusted and they started 0-7 and they looked like the worst team in the league. And they had some kind of fugazi wins against some other bad teams. They were playing hard. We can't even say that now. So
it was rough.
It's concerning. It's concerning.
So I will say, I don't want to take up too much time, but I definitely believe we're in a good spot as far as what the future holds, the assets we have. I do believe in Moogie. I like his thinking process. I loved when they signed Sauce and Garrett in the beginning of the season. To me, that was a good move because if you move on, you could get rid of them easy. No team likes a deal where they're looking for an extension. It's a very difficult process. I think he's head on. I like him. Arian Smith was a red flag for me. Brady Cook looked not terrible. 21 to 33, I think, 200 plus yards, 3 interceptions. Two were really bad. 2 were really bad. So I'm trying to be positive because what else can we do? It's like we have to go in with the mindset that this will pan out, and we have a guy that knew he had to blow up the team and rebuild it. So that's all I got to say. Jet fans, stay up. We're going to get through this. It won't be another 15 years of no playoffs. We will get there. It was a pleasure being on the show, and I'll definitely call back in again. Thanks for having me, Jake.
Jared, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for listening to the Sunday show. Mike T and I are going to be at each other's throat on Sunday if he tries to defend the Jets, right? He was trying to defend Wilks. He's giving me crap for being critical of him on social media. And now Aaron Glenn, his boy who he helped hire, fired him today. So I look forward to my exchange with Mike Tannenbaum for 3 hours this Sunday. So everyone tune in from 9 to noon when Mike joins the show. I'm on starting at 8 solo for the first hour. I laughed when I saw this comment here, right? There are stupid people out there. Unfortunately, some of them are tuned into the show. So this guy Josh goes, Jets content creators are the worst. They milk the fan base dry, profiting off misery. There's no reason to have 3 shows per day for each creator just lamenting the same things over. Well, Josh, you don't have to watch a Jet podcast or Jet YouTube show if you don't like the content. You don't have to, right? The show is free. I do this year round. We have a great community. If you don't like it, you don't need to watch. It's really not that complicated. But since you are watching, here's my message to you. You are a dunce.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give him another 24 hours to think about it.
I mean, what are we talking about? It's a problem to have too many Jet shows now, apparently. You don't watch. Maybe a lot of content creators do shows because people are tuned in. More calls. Burkinator is up next on our show today. Hello, Mr. Burkinator.
Jay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Looks like we got another Moogie guy, by the way. The new guy is calling him Moogie. So
Moogie.
Joe being the new guy. He had some good points, but I'll make some of my own too. First of all, arguably the worst defensive performance I've ever seen with the Jets. I mean, that was pretty bad. I mean,
it was awful. And we've seen a lot of bad ones. I mean, they and that's why Wilks got fired today. Glenn saw the tape and they quit.
And understandably, he got fired. I wanted him fired. I was kind of on the boat with you, like, hey, let him ride out the last 3 games of the season because he sucks so bad. And at this point, I've never asked for the Jets to tank in my life until now. I think if they win another game, it's pointless. It's actually detrimental to our position in the draft. But they got rid of him. I don't know if the new guy will be much better. I think it's in so much disarray at this point that the only game we can really win is the Saints. I think that the Patriots and the Bills are going to be playing for something, so I don't see us winning those games. So we'll see. But the Saints game, we definitely need to lose. It looks like they may have also found their quarterback in Shuck, so that might take up a draft or make them not want to get a quarterback anyway. The team I'm worried about is the Raiders, I guess. But more into some of these decisions by the Jets from the beginning. I want to kind of chime in more about the Sherwood contract, which I didn't like from the beginning. I'll give my opinion as also a former player. I played linebacker in college as well. I know I'm not playing at these guys' level. I was a lower Division I guy, but there's certain things that I've seen on other teams and other seasons that I think is the issue. And I didn't want Sherwood from the beginning. Okay. And the reason why I didn't want Sherwood is I didn't think he was a good fit for being next to Quinnen.
Quincy?
I'm sorry, Quincy, correct, my bad. So every position or every player has a different accolade for each position. Like certain quarterback, like for example, quarterback, you have more of a dual threat type quarterback. You have more of a pocket guy. Same goes for running back. You have more of a run pass option threat. You have more of a straight downhill guy. It's the same for linebacker. So when it comes to linebacker, and the reason why I think this core of this defense is also pretty bad, not only because the scheme is terrible and there's no leadership, which is what I'm really going to harp into. If you look at previous Jets teams, and I'll talk to the Jets because I know I have Jets people in the chat, maybe they'll understand me. If you look at previous Jets teams, they always had a nucleus type linebacker, which I call basically like a real, I would say more of a core when it comes to X's and O's, and more of a guy who's more of a heady type player. They had a guy like Mosley next to Quincy. Quincy is more of a scraper. He's more of a free space type of player. He likes to overrun things a lot. He's not really a heady player. He's more of a explosive sideline to sideline kind of guy. And if you look at Sherwood, and I know his past, I think he was a converted safety, if I'm not mistaken, from Florida State. He's kind of the same player. I mean, not as explosive when it comes to physicality and making plays, but he's kind of more of a sideline guy. He's not a gap stuffer. He's not a guy who's going to demand and dictate the line of scrimmage, check things. I don't think he's a heady player. So you got 2 non-heady players at the core of our defense. You paid one of them extreme amount of money. So I just think he's not the right fit. If you look at our previous Jets teams, you had a guy like David Harris. I think he was accompanying, was it Demario Davis, who was more of a scraper type guy? You also had guys like Mosley with Quincy. Vilma with, I forgot who the other guy was next to Wilma, now I'm blanking out. But there was always a core type guy in the middle of the field, a heady type of guy. That's where I think the biggest problem is when it comes to playing in space our linebackers right now and stopping runs, checking out of things. Obviously, Steve Wilks had to go. His scheme was very vanilla, and that's also hurting our pass rush, I believe. We're not getting home because it's the same 4-man rush every single time. But that's where I think the Sherwood that was a big mistake. It was either keep Quincy or pay Quincy or pay Sherwood, in my opinion.
Well,
And
they
get
need
another linebacker.
probably 3 new linebackers now. And the good news is the draft is loaded with good linebackers. And there's some guys in free agency that can make some sense. It wouldn't surprise me if they sign Alex Anzalone
I was
as a
just gonna say that.
guy, calls the defense for Glenn for a year or two. He's a little older, but again, like fundamentally, we're looking at probably 5 to 6 new defensive starters at the minimum. Like there's going to be a lot of change to that defense.
I agree with Anzalone. That's what I was going to say. He's got some rapport with Glenn. He's a little bit up in age. Maybe he'll take some type of contract deal that works for us where we can groom another guy behind them in a draft, to rotate him in. I like Quincy Williams. I just think he's with the pair with him and Sherwood, it's not the right fit. It's leaving up too many gaps, too much over pursuing, too many mental mistakes. I mean, I've never seen this many mental errors in my life. I mean, so many wide open holes on this defense. I've never seen this before. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's no contested catches.
That's why they fired Wilks. I mean,
Right.
it got to a point where Glenn, you got to show some pride for your team, man. And again, he said yesterday, oh, it's the Wilks system. Like he separated himself from it right away, and now he fired him a day later. Like that's not a coincidence if you think about it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And that's why I know for a fact I'm on board with you and Joe B, where Woody Johnson made this call, because you would think that Glenn would keep him as kind of like a cover up to not put anything on him. You know what I'm saying? Like this didn't come from him.
I don't know if Woody made it. It wouldn't shock me if Woody had something to do with it, being like, what are we doing here? I'm not, but again, I think it's almost the opposite of what you're saying though, Burkinator. Like Glenn says what he says yesterday about Wilks. He fires him a day later, but I think you can connect the dots being him coming out yesterday being like, well, we hired Steve to run his system. It's the Wilks system. Like he didn't want to say it's my defense. Like he made Steve Wilks the fall guy, which he's going to be the fall guy for why the Jet defense sucked this season. And now a year from now, if it still sucks, it's going to be Aaron Glenn who's responsible for it, but he's going to get a pass for it in year 1.
Right. Yeah, I can agree with that. I like Fernando Mendoza a lot. I've watched him. First of all, I like the head he has on his shoulders. He's a good kid. He's a tough kid. I don't know how much we're going to have to trade to get him. I don't know what else is available, but I do like Fernando Mendoza. I think you got to take a shot with him if you can. My last point that I'll make, I remember you mentioned earlier in the show, what has Glenn improved on, or what is Glenn's identity, or what has he done better? I don't know if you've noticed. Has anyone else noticed that maybe he's been a little bit more humble in the press lately? Maybe, like he's gotten better at that. Would we say that? I'm just clowning right now.
Yeah, I guess 3-11 should humble you, right?
Right. I mean, the whole Parcells bullshit you can't fucking endorse. Disrespectful at this point. But I don't know, Jake. I mean, like the last quote said, that the pieces are there. They got to hit this. They got to hit on these picks this year. And yeah, that Sherwood contract. I don't know what they're gonna do about that or how they're gonna do it, but that one hurt. But that's all I got for today, brother.
Burkinator, good call, man. Go Yanks. Common Country, why would Anzalone leave? Well, the Lions can't pay everyone, and he's a linebacker over 30. So if the Jets offered him the most money, I think he'd take it. That'd be the rationale. Leo Chanel's a free agent too. If you do want to sign a younger, good player, Kansas City could be up against it with the cap, so maybe he's a name. They could. I think we're looking at a brand new linebacker room. Maybe Kiko's here because he's a draft pick, but if they ate the Sherwood contract, I'd have to see what the dead cap ramifications would be. It wouldn't shock me. It's been that bad, right? Team captain, they benched him already once this year. I don't know. It's a mess. The linebackers on this team are terrible, but they're also out of position all the time. I don't think they ever bought into Wilks, which is why ultimately Steve Wilks got fired today. Right? Jermaine Johnson refused to speak with reporters yesterday. He's a leader, and he's saying he's not talking. Like, I think there was a real combustible nature to that locker room if Glenn didn't do what he did today. I think Glenn recognized them. That's why they fired the coordinator. Michael with a super chat. Did I get this right? Quinnen got a pick. He did have an interception last night. The Jets still have 0. Oh, the Jets make me sick. The Jets still have 0 on the year, but Quinnen now has 1, of course. The D play like they were trying to get Wilks fired. Correct. Corey says Jets were top 10 in blitzes on pass plays in the league. We only got pressure on 30% of those blitzes, which is the worst in the league, and he kept doing it. Again, teams knew what the Jets were running. They didn't change anything. And they never, ever get to the quarterback. The Jets never put pressure on the quarterback. And they had 2 first-round edge rushers on their team. They never put pressure on the quarterback. Their blitzes never get home. Oh, it's terrible. It's bad. Again, Glenn said it wasn't about the X's and O's. Yes, it is. You're schematically outclassed every week. When they play Mike McDaniel, he schools them. When they play Liam Cohen, he schools them. When they play the good offensive coaches in the league, they've been embarrassed this year. Man. It's tough. Real tough. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time today, we check in with a man who will get us back on track.
Look what we have here.
The Chris Porzingis t-shirt. Yes.
Got that for $16, and I got a new New York Knicks hat on the way in the mail coming in from Louisiana, the Cajun country. Wilks should have been fired several weeks ago. I knew it was time for him to say, "Happy trails to you until we meet again." Well, we can start thinking about doing this. Everyone keeps complaining about the $3 billion. Well, this is what we're going to do with $3 billion.
What $3 billion are you referring to?
$3 billion. We're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to cut 8 players that we do not need. Adams looked like crap. Clemens looked like crap. I mean, half of Salah's regime, they look like they've been sawed in half. This team yesterday looked like they were falling asleep at the wheel.
Hey, Common Country wants to know how you thought Garrett played yesterday.
I'm sorry, your question is invalid. Bye. Invalid. Sorry, your question is very poorly invalid.
What's invalid about it?
It's invalid.
What specifically is invalid about it?
Garrett is out. He's not going to be coming back until next year. I'm sorry.
That's my man. Let's go.
Wrong answer. It's called wrong answer, McFly. And next year we're going to get Mendoza. We just got to stay positive and start thinking about getting the guys we need. And Tyrod Taylor has to retire. We can't rely on old. We got to rely on youth. And Justin Fields is a crybaby. I can't stand him. He's nothing but a crybaby. And Braylon Allen, I'm sorry, that debacle in Miami when you remember the debacle when he had the ball and then all of a sudden, yeah, idiot. Sorry, gotta go. He has to go. I'm sorry. Half these guys have to go. They don't kiss my big ass. Woo!
Well said, Beast. A lot of these guys do have to go. Amen. More calls. Paul Faz is next. Hey, Paul.
What's going on, brother?
What's up, Paul?
You know, really disappointing because I watched some stuff on YouTube about Parcells, and that's what we need. Like, you know, I brought up Bart Scott earlier in the super chat because, you know what? I just feel Bart Scott would not take any shit. Like, okay, they stopped playing for Wilks. Well, like, are they going to stop playing for everybody, right? Like, there's got to be a point where, you know, you can't be too nice to them either. You know, you can't. You are the leader they're supposed to follow, and if they're not following your system, it's one of two things. It's you or it's them, right? But, like, we're down the same rabbit. Am I glad he's fired? Yeah, I mean, I still swear I don't care. I think Woody had everything to do with that firing yesterday. I do. I think the whole reason that we even got Fields, I think, was Woody. I'm not letting him off the hook. I'm just not, because we have that one thing consistent. It's been bad every year of our life, and it starts with ownership. And we just don't hold him accountable as much as we should, in my opinion, because he got pissed off with Aaron because Aaron Rodgers opened his mouth when they fired Saleh, There was no way Aaron Rodgers was coming back this year. He just wasn't. And I just feel he meddled in this one too. And it's fine because Wilks was obviously not doing it, not cutting the mustard, right? But it had Woody written all over it. I'm sorry. You listen to the press conference. Aaron Glenn did say, I'm going to check everything, hold everything accountable. But, he's making it sound like it was him and his decision. It was Woody's. I mean, let's call it what it is. And, we brought up how many times Woody has meddled in a bad way. And it's like, could he meddle in a good way for once? Like, Wilks we're getting rid of anyway. Could we like one time where he'll meddle in a good way and do the right thing? You can't have faith in Aaron Glenn. I'm not saying in time he won't get better, but it just doesn't feel like he'll ever get it. Like, there's some that you sit like, I mean, honestly, I'd rather have Saleh back than him, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that Saleh was great, but I feel Saleh had a lot of stuff up against him more than what Aaron Glenn's got up against him. And I just feel like Saleh at least knew how to run a team a little better than him. It's like, can we get somebody competent? And why can't our ownership see it and say, okay, I gave him a shot for a year. It's not working. Next year,
money and ego, Paul. Money and ego. That's it. I mean, he gave Aaron Glenn a 5-year contract, about $11 or $12 million a year. And to admit a mistake after 1 year, I don't think Woody's going to pull the plug. I don't think he's going to do it. And I think they committed to Glenn when they allowed him to make the deals at the deadline. So we have to hope that he shows improvement as a coach. He hires a much better DC than Wilks ever was, and that they get the right quarterback, because that's what it's going to come down to. They have money and resources to do it. I'm with you that there's a lot of concerns with the head coach, regardless of the clear lack of talent that is on this roster.
And you know what else I don't get? Like, we listened to that 30-plus team or whatever it was called in the hirings and everything. Like, what gives them all the experience? Like, that whole lineup wasn't nothing great in professional football anyway.
If you get a billionaire to believe in you, that's it. Mike Tannenbaum maintained a relationship with Woody Johnson. Woody trusted him to help vet candidates and be in these interviews and ask the right questions to potential coaching and GM candidates. And they decided on Glenn and Muji, and ultimately Glenn was who they decided on. But Glenn was a known name. You didn't need the 30-13 to tell you that. Like, ultimately, like, we could blame the 30-13. It's Woody Johnson. He's the one who signed off on this. He hired another first-time head coach from a defensive background who's learning on the job, and it could work. But I have severe doubts right now. I look at Aaron Glenn's year one, and let's be honest. I mean, the Jets have had a lot of terrible seasons, but this is one of the few times that the Jets are likely going to win 3 games or less. Like, the Jets have only lost 14 games twice in franchise history. They went 1-15 in 1996 with Rich Kotite, and they went 2-14 with Gase in 2020. That's it. That's the entire list. Aaron Glenn's going to be on that list. Like, that is a legitimate concern.
Your eyes don't lie to you. You know what? We can all see that Muji's done an above average job, in my opinion. If it's 1 year, I understand that, but yet you do have to say you feel some sense of competency with him, that like he's not going to destroy you down the line, right? Like we saw with Joe Douglas, we saw some good, we saw some pretty bad too, right? But like, to me, he wasn't even overall horrible. I think there's even worse GMs in the league than he was. But right now, what Muji's showing, to me, like, pull the trigger, say, Muji, you're running the show, you're the GM, do what you need to do and fix this, because he's at least shown us something. And it's just the same crap. How are we going to compete? How are we going to compete in this league, man? It's not going to change.
But he's not going to fire the coach, man. Woody Johnson is not going to admit he made a mistake hiring Aaron Glenn. Not after 1 year. I think that ship sailed when they, at the trade deadline, made the draft trades with Sauce and Quinnen. They sold him on a plan to get a quarterback this offseason. He's going to give him the offseason. I think it could be a big mistake. I'm not going to sit here and act like Paul or anyone who's called in and wants a change at coach is wrong for feeling that way. Again, I can't point to anything Aaron Glenn I think has done very well as a head coach this year. You can't even tell me they play hard for him. They don't. All right. These guys are professionals. They all should play hard. It's the bare minimum. And they've quit the last 2 weeks, at least on defense. Yesterday, I know they quit. That's why Glenn fired Wilks, because he saw the same thing we saw. It's concerning. I get it. Like, he hired Chris Banjo. That's the best thing I could say about Glenn in year one. Banjo's great. It's just, unfortunately, special teams impact is not enough to make you feel great about the overall direction for the franchise. You'd rather him hire an amazing DC than an amazing special teams coordinator. And this defense was not good last year. They were not this. And they had 8 of their 11 starters back at the beginning of the year. And we have a defensive coach, a veteran DC, and this is what we have. I have a lot of needs, man. Again, this is only going to be the third time the Jets have lost 14 games or more in a season, because I don't think they're winning another game. This is scary. Burkinator, who had a great call earlier, has sent in a $100 super chat, baby. He's in the raffle for 20 later.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're shit.
Burkinator, thank you.
Show me the money.
Show me the money! Money.
All right, our final call on this first show is from Jason in Jerusalem. We'll be back this afternoon with Will Parkinson to talk more about the Steve Wilks being fired news and much more. Hello, Jason.
Happy Hanukkah, Jake.
Happy Hanukkah.
At some point, there needs to be accountability for Glenn. You want to blame that it was the way Wilks, his system. You chose him in his system. He was awful in San Fran. He was not good in Carolina. What did they see in him? There was a reason he was employable and that he didn't have a job. And it seems like there's somehow Glenn has just Teflon this year. He chose Fields. I get it. It was a risk, but that's what he banked on. He chose Wilks. And it just seems like he's created a situation for himself that nothing sticks to him this year. And as a fan, it really, really sucks.
I'm with you, man. It's alarming. Anyone telling you that they're not concerned about the head coach, I think, is being dishonest with you. There's some legit concerns.
I mean, Banjo, great hire, like you said. Engstrand, I'm impressed. I don't think he has the weapons for it. I need to see more from him. He's not Banjo, but at least it's nice to see a competent offensive coordinator. We didn't have that with Hackett last year. I mean, some of the play calls, you could see that, like with the 4th down play, it was a good call. They just couldn't execute it, as Tucker pointed out on the broadcast. It's nice to see that they're actually using some type of ingenuity and at least trying to run a 2025 style offense. But it's one thing when your scheme is just, they just beat you. We were just out-schemed, outclassed. There is no reason that ETN should have had that last touchdown. That was just pure laziness and giving up.
Oh, I mean, they quit yesterday. Again, that's why Glenn did what he did. And look, Wilks has been fired in all his recent stops. So you can see it on the screen. The process was to get a guy with experience for a rookie head coach. And Wilks has been an intern once, and he's been a head coach one other time. That was the thought process. It was the right process. So they landed on the wrong candidate. It was a bad hire. And Glenn now has to own that. He has by firing him. He better get this next hire right. He's probably not going to be allowed to hire a third DC. So this is his last chance at it.
Yeah, but that's like saying that Adam Gase was the right hire or the wrong person. At some point, you have to realize, who is this person? I mean, they want an offensive offensive coach for Sam Darnold. No, they hired Gase. You wanted somebody with experience. That's great. You don't just hire somebody because he has experience. You hired Steve Wilks.
It was a bad hire. Look, Glenn does have to own this 100%.
But at what point does he have the responsibility to own this? Because it seems like he's just getting a free pass with all of this stuff.
Well, I mean, what would you do? You're going to fire him?
I mean, the way that he coached in the beginning of the year with his clock management, which showed that he was just in over his head, and the fact that now that his team has quit on him. I mean, I remember Raheem Morris at the end where people said that they wouldn't fire him, but his team just completely abandoned him back when he was on the Bucks. That it reached the point that you couldn't sell the fans on another year of Raheem Morris. And I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen with Glenn.
Jason, I would be very surprised if Woody Johnson admits a coach that he personally oversaw the hire for the first time in a decade, Woody was involved with this, if he pulls the plug after a year. I just don't see it. I'm not sitting here saying I wouldn't be on board with making a change. I think if you want to argue Aaron Glenn should be fired, you have plenty of things you could argue. This team has been a disaster for most of the year. But I don't see it. I don't see it. And as a Jet fan, if he's not going to be fired, I'm going to root for him because he's the Jet coach and I want him to get better. But I can't find a whole lot of positives, man. It's tough. So I feel your pain. I feel the pain of a lot of the callers today. Gary Cantor is in our raffle for 2. Thank you, Gary. Love the content, Jake. Happy holidays. All I want for Christmas is for the Jets to be a team that we're proud to watch. Look, Aaron Glenn said that was his goal this year. And then he walked it back and said, I didn't say when you'd be proud of the team. It's tough. Hey, great show. Thank you to Benigno for joining us. We went nearly 3 hours because of the Steve Wilks news. I'll be back in a little bit with Will Parkinson for our second show. We'll give away the signed Klecko helmet then. Again, Steve Wilks is out. Where do the Jets go from here? We'll continue to discuss that and much more during our second stream in the 4 p.m. hour. Thank you for watching. Go Jets, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again to all the Asmaniacs who still support, given how bad this team continues to be.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go Jets!